You know what old Jack Burton always says at a time like this?
Come on, then. I'll bite your legs off!
I can take it.
Great power comes great responsibility. We have a fault. Get to the chopper! And leave. Does the flesh wound? I am the father.
This is 7 November Golf.
The target's heading right at us. He's too fast.
Panamanian government evidence of passengers dead or alive. Please stand by.
Are we slowing down?
Thing's only 200 miles off the eastern American seaboard. We don't even know what the hell it is.
And welcome back to the 48th episode of the Monster Movie Stompdown. Of course, you got Sludge here, my co-host to the left of me.
It's Mark.
Our brother from Texas.
Ruben.
And we've got a very special guest for this episode, all the way from the west side of Kentucky, Justin McClain. Justin, say hey.
What's going on, guys?
So we brought Justin in. Now, Justin's cool. We've become friends with Justin. Well, we've been friends for, over a year now at least, right?
Oh, yeah.
And when we did our first live podcast episode, because we were wanting to start doing that monthly before COVID hit, so we only did one episode. Justin drove all the way down from like what, 6 hours?
About 6.5.
Yeah. So that's
that was a video cast that we did.
Yep.
At Pizza Plus. Yeah.
Yep. And so that's really cool. So Justin definitely means a ton to me. So I'm super glad you're on this episode. And because we also needed somebody on this episode to speak highly of the movie that we're discussing today. So we got all the great episode this month, and hope you guys enjoyed. I know it was a long one with August Ragone. That was a great episode. Had so much fun with him there, being on it. And then, of course, this one we've hit it. We've hit the first American Godzilla film.
You've been excited, man.
I have not.
You have.
If I'm excited, it's to tear this film apart.
They can hear, they can't see. I always see the smile on your face when you. In fact, we're looking at a
I didn't bring it down here
on the table.
No.
Whose is that?
That's what it is. Mine.
Okay.
but
Exactly.
I didn't bring it down here.
Exactly.
Okay, no.
I rest my case.
So for King Kong vs. Godzilla, I brought my NECA figure down, and we do the little bits and things like that for each episode. I didn't bring anything down for this one. You decided to bring that down.
Well, that's because I saw it on the nerd shelf.
Well, I forget it's there, but hey, you don't. You make sure to let me know. So,
and again, I'm shocked that it didn't set off an alarm. It wasn't
because I keep them
kind of like
they're
shocked.
They're under laser security.
Well, I asked Sarah, I said, where's the electronics out here? Let's shut this down so I can get a hold of this.
No, man, I swear, I hope it never happens in Jesus' name. But if we ever had a house fire, and I'm like, save all the Godzilla figures, the first time someone grabs one of those, I'm like, you leave it. I don't need that.
Whatever. Ain't gonna happen.
That can burn.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so we're here with the Sony Tristar Godzilla film.
Oh, that's
and
funny.
we were talking prior, and Wait till y'all hear the stomp ratings. Justin definitely is the saving grace on this one. Because Justin, you're actually a big fan of this movie, right?
I am now. Yes.
I am now. That deserves a little more explaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a
Can't wait to
long,
hear
hard
that.
road.
I mean, anybody liking this film, I would imagine, is a long, hard road to get there.
You need to be good there.
What?
Because when this first came out, your daughter loved this movie.
I know, but I can't, get mad at my daughter.
Jada, he's bouncing on you.
No,
there.
see, now she hates it now. Okay, now, the reason being is
Because you brainwashed her.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was about to say. You threatened to withhold her violence or something.
Do you want to go to college?
Yeah.
Stop liking this movie. No, I mean she because prior to this one, she had only seen very few of the actual Godzilla films. Because Jada, unlike like Gavin, where he's so pro Godzilla and Ultraman, Jada was more into the horror, sci-fi, special effects films. So I mean, when we watched the movie, I would try to get her to watch a Godzilla film, but normally she would be like, "Well, can we watch Predator? Can we watch Alien? Let's watch Harry and Henry." Especially anything that had Kevin Peter Hall in it. She loved Kevin Peter Hall, and so it was kind of difficult the first couple of years to get her to watch a Godzilla film. And but so one of the early ones she watched was this one, and she did. She liked this one. She was, young, stupid, that type of stuff.
I'm sorry I had to bring that up, Jada. I'm real sorry on that.
But my daughter's not stupid. I'm just giving her a hard time. But then she started to see more of them. I think after this one, the next one was, I want to say it was Godzilla 2000. And she's like, "Oh, that was a much better film." I'm like, yeah, it definitely was. So then she started to watch more and more. And then probably around the time where she finally got to see 2014 and Legendary do this one, that was her moment of going, "Holy crap, that movie sucks." The 98 film. She's like, that is not a Godzilla movie. And
she loved it because she had nothing to compare it to.
Right. But even Gavin, I had Gavin the other day when I sat down to watch this movie over several hours because I fell asleep once or twice. And he started watching it with me. He's like, "Dad, what is this?" I'm like, "It's a movie." And he's like, "What movie?" I'm like, "It's Godzilla." "Oh, okay." I'm like, "No, let me just."
It's not okay.
Don't get your hopes up. And so I'm not trying to, I didn't say, "Hey, this is a bad film" to him, because I don't want to taint, he may like it. If he wants to like it, then that's fine. Jada liked it, for a while. So I didn't say anything. I didn't critique the film. I just kind of sat there and just watched it with him there. And, because at first he was excited, the opening sequence when it attacks the fishing boat, he was like, "That's so cool." But then tell you, he gets caught in the fish trawlers and he's like, "Oh, that's awesome." But then when he sees him, okay, he looks right at me and he goes, this is his exact words: "I thought you said it was a Godzilla movie." I was like, I know, I'm sorry, kid. Like, I didn't want to disappoint you. And he couldn't finish it. He didn't. He walked out and went and played like Switch or something like that. But he did like Hank Azaria. He thought Hank Azaria was funny with a little bit he saw of him. So, but so
Animal
obviously
is great.
Oh, dude, he's the saving grace for me. Animal is the saving grace for me in this film. So this is the Sony TriStar Godzilla film, and usually we give you just a quick rundown of the movie. But I really want to give a little bit of backstory for this film, because this movie took years to get to the point of what we got. And there was some uphill awesomeness of what was going to happen. And then Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich got a hold of it and just ripped it apart. So they actually started this back in the early 90s, 92-ish. Henry Saberstein. Of course, we've talked about Henry before because, bringing these, he brought a lot of the Godzilla movies. His company, UPA, brought a lot of companies out over here in America. And he was pushing Toho he kept going, "Let's make an American Godzilla film. Let's partner up." And Toho finally said, "Okay, let's do it." And I think it was Columbia Pictures is who they first pitched it to. And Columbia's like, "No, that'll be stupid, blah, whatever." So he kept shopping around. And no one would actually take the idea. Toho was like, "Yeah, let's shop it around." Henry got the okay from them. And even Sony TriStar said no initially in the meeting. But I think it was Henry's wife maybe had said, "Hey, go above those guys. Go to the CEO." I don't remember who was the CEO at the time for Sony back in 92, but he took it to the top. And they're like, "Yeah, this is an international brand. The fire-breathing monster. Let's do it." Totally. So they said, okay. So they made an agreement with Sony TriStar to do the film. They only advanced Toho like 300 or 400,000 or whatever. And of course, Toho sent a criteria thing of like, this is what has to stay, you know, the nuclear part of it. And then this, as far as the design, you can only change so much and blah, blah, blah. So then they started working on a script that, Russo, can't remember his name. Maybe Steve Russo. Anyways, started writing the script. And this was when back in 93, 94, when John DeBont was originally brought on to direct the film. And in the script that they did, Godzilla had no actual nuclear origin. He was created by the Atlanteans, kind of similar to what Shusuke Kaneko ended up doing with Gamera in the Heisei trilogy. And he was Godzilla was kind of a protector of Earth. Again, he ends up protecting Earth against this alien creature called the Griffin, which was able to mutate as it absorbed other animals. Actually, there's a graphic artist who did a online. He worked on it several years and it's complete now, but he did a graphic novel of the original script that you can find online, and it's absolutely awesome. But so for this film, that was the plan and idea was to do Godzilla versus another monster. Then, you know, you had human scientists that was going to help, things like that. And that's was they're going for. But the problem they ran into is John DeBont wanted like $120 million for the budget is what he wanted. And Sony was like, there's no way to do that because there were so many Godzilla scenes. I mean, Godzilla was just rampant through the film that it was, and he wanted to do it all CGI, that he's like $120 million budget, you know, period, is what we need. And Sony wasn't wanting to do it. They wanted to do like an $80 million budget at the time, which is crazy because once Dean Devlin and them got a hold of it, it ended up having like a $130 million budget or something anyways. Yeah. But so they ended up having some creative differences, and John DeBont stepped away from the project. When John DeBont stepped away, they had tried a couple different directors who turned it down. And then after they turned it down, they had reached out to Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich. And when they came on, they had initially stated, hey, we'll do it because, you know, they just did Independence, you know, they did Independence Day, Stargate, stuff like that, that we want to do it our way. And Sony was like, okay, that's fine. So that's when things started to change. And they completely redid the script, no other monster. They removed Godzilla's atomic breath. I mean, everything we ended up getting at this point when we saw it, that's what they wanted to do. Made him more animalistic, you know, parrot bipedal, you know what I mean? So his body's parallel to the ground, you know, much faster. And that was the key thing for them was they want him to be fast, super, super fast. And so they hired Patrick Tatopoulos. He creates the design. They take the design to Toho, and you know, Toho signs off on the design.
How could they sign off on that?
I don't get that.
That makes no sense
I read
at
that
all.
too. That Toho knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I think it was even like Tanaka had stated, you kept the spirit of Godzilla.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
why he okayed it.
That's what he said. Yeah,
I'm assuming he had no idea what the plans in the movie were. You know what I mean? Because I mean, the design's not horrible. It's not Godzilla, but it's at least a decently cool design. So they end up, you know, making the movie, and Devlin, when they went to do the merchandising and the promotion for it, Devlin and Emmerich were it was their decision. They didn't want to show the full body shot of Godzilla. They wanted the glimpses. That's why when we got the trailer, I think it was like Men in Black, or maybe the second Jurassic Park film was Men in Black, where they did the first teaser where it comes down on the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember being so excited when I saw that.
I couldn't remember if it was Men in Black or if it was like the second Jurassic Park, but Men in Black, you're right. That's what it is. You know what I mean? So it kept people were pumped up and super stoked about this movie. I was.
That was the last good trailer I ever saw.
Was that the last? You told me that before. That was the last good trailer you ever seen, isn't it?
Yeah, I quit watching trailers after Godzilla 98 came out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you feel that trailers show too much of the film, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And in most cases, you're absolutely not wrong. because they definitely
now trailers will show stuff that never ends up in the movie now.
That's true. You do get scenes that like,
man, you see that
where was that?
So many trailers now that they you see them and then they don't end up in the final movie.
Yeah. Well, I remember there was a movie that came out not too long ago or a couple years ago called Upgrade. Not a monster movie by any means, but a great sci-fi action film. And I watched the trailer for it. Me and my wife did, and I was like, "This looks amazing." And then we watched the movie, and there was like 2 or 3 scenes in the trailer that never made it to the film. I was like, "Where was that at?" You know what I mean? Like I didn't see it. So, yeah, trailers. I think Justin. I still like watching trailers.
That is that original Spider-Man trailer, the Tobey Maguire.
Oh yeah.
You remember the teaser trailer for that? That was incredible. I remember RJ watching that. He was a kid. Oh man, he got so excited when he saw that.
Hey.
And of course, that never made it in the film because I don't think it ever was part of the film.
No,
it was just but it was so cool. Of course, that happened right around when the trade centers went down. So, I remember the trailer disappeared for the longest time. I kept it. I still have it saved somewhere on a computer.
They pulled all the posters too.
Yeah, they pulled so that was like a big deal, and they said no, we're not going to show that. But that's a good reason not to watch trailers, but I still watch them. They don't bother me. I'm getting old, so I forget anyway. So.
What was that? So they end up, they kept none of us knew. Nobody knew what he looked like.
Yeah.
Until opening day. The only thing that got leaked and they attempted to fix was it did get leaked to the public that his atomic breath was gone, and the uproar started at that point. And so they were like, okay, we'll fix it. Yeah, we'll talk about how they fixed that problem. So they end up releasing the film, and before we get into that, the movies, it's the standard monster movie plot line. You've got Godzilla. We're going to refer to him as Zilla. Or I'm going to, because that's what Toho changed the name to. He shows up and attacks New York and decides to make a nest out of it because he can have babies. Very Jurassic Park-esque scenes in this movie from that.
Yeah.
And he lays his nest in Madison Square Gardens.
Yeah, Madison Square
Gardens. And so our main characters, Nick Tatopoulos and Maria Patillo's character, Audrey, Animal. We've got Jean Reno, who is Philippe, French government agent who's trying to stop Godzilla because it was actually French tests in the Polynesian Islands that created Godzilla, who's an iguana, because they show the marine rock iguanas at the beginning, and then of course a slew of other characters that are trying to stop Godzilla. So they try to destroy the eggs, destroy the nest. Of course, the eggs hatch. They end up having to bomb Madison Square Gardens after they think they killed Godzilla, and they didn't. And the final scene of the movie is Zilla getting trapped on the bridge and in the tension wires, and he gets killed by like 9 or 12 missiles from jets, and then it's over.
12.
Was it 12?
Yeah.
It was 12. Weak missiles. Come on, man. God, it's supposed to be Godzilla. But so,
the fact that he was on a bridge,
that was amazing.
Not towering over the bridge,
right? So it's got the standard storyline for where it's and so the movie comes out, and this movie was planned to be a trilogy. Sony was going to make a trilogy out of this film. Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich were going to be on board for the whole trilogy. And for when a movie comes out and has a budget and then makes so much money, okay, this movie, if it's a hit, of course they're going to continue with the trilogy, even if it doesn't make it too much more than they planned. Okay, this movie had $130 to $150 million budget, including the marketing. Okay, because the marketing was astronomical too. I think it was like $30-40 million. Of course, granted, I think it was like Taco Bell pitched in $20 million, and for it too, because Taco Bell was huge. They had all the marketing for Taco Bell. The cups and little toys and stuff. So the movie comes out and honestly tanked in America. They were expecting $100 million. It didn't tank. Well, it did tank. They were wanting like $100 million because it was Memorial Day weekend it came out, and it didn't even do, I think, 80 million. It was less than that because I think like one of the Lethal Weapons came out and did better. Lethal Weapon 4 came out and stomped it. Overseas, especially China, is where this movie really made its money because it ended up grossing $350 million.
379.
379.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm
380
showing here. Yeah.
So financially, that's a success.
Yes.
So you're talking 100, let's say 150 million max. Okay, on that budget,
Over doubled.
It over doubled it.
Yeah.
That is, you don't even have to double it as long as you make 20% over your budget, and if you have a planned license sequel or trilogy, you're going to get another one. Yeah, that's just how Hollywood rolls. This over doubles. It's it was financially a success. Thankfully, overseas in China was the big part of the market.
Yeah.
But the reaction was so bad, they pulled the plug. They're like, nope, no sequels, period. Because it was horrible. Haruo Nakajima was quoted stating something along the lines of, like, that's not Godzilla. That's like a lizard with frog legs or something like that. Ken Satsuma, who had not seen this, until he watched the premiere at G-Fest, or watched it at G-Fest. Not so it wasn't the premiere, but a few months later, and he walked out. He didn't even finish the film, and said something along the lines of, like, that's not, you ruined Godzilla, or that's not the spirit of the film. Ishiro Honda dogged the film. I mean, a lot of people, it was butchered. I mean, Roger Ebert and Siskel, they tore this film apart. Every critic tore this film apart. It's got the worst rating of Godzilla films.
They're in it.
Yeah, they're in it.
Yeah, it's true. Because for those, so Dean Devlin, and just a quick side note, Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich are well-known haters of Siskel and Ebert, mainly because of Siskel and Ebert trashing Stargate. Because Stargate was like the big thing, and Stargate's a phenomenal movie, I think. And so they trashed it. So the mayor is Mayor Ebert, and he's probably the dumbest character in the movie. You know what I mean? They made sure to put. Oh my gosh!
And they even they picked somebody who has a huge resemblance to them too.
He does, man. Like if Ebert gained 100 pounds, that was him.
Yeah.
Like it really was. So they did. They, of course, now, so Ebert and them definitely jabbed at it because they got jabbed at on their own. But there was I tried to find today a good review from an actual critic, because there's good reviews from some fans out there. And there are fans that do love this movie.
Well, we got one on here.
We got Justin on here, definitely.
Yeah. There are fans out there.
That like this
to the end.
But I couldn't find an actual critic review that was in favor of this film whatsoever. So there was no. The sequels were shot. No hope for them whatsoever. Thankfully, we did get the animated series, because the animated series for me made up for what the failures of the movie did, making him indestructible, giving him the atomic.
I think in one of our text conversations, what I said was the animated series was an apology, not a sequel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you have said that. Yeah, it definitely was. And it goes on, and Toho was very upset with what came out afterwards. And of course, now Toho does own the license for the character, so they changed the name to Zilla. And then of course he's been in other media. He's been in the IDW comic books, but his next most notable appearance was in Final Wars, where you get to see this Zilla fight the real Godzilla in what was like a 27-second fight. Like, it was embarrassing.
It went down quick.
They let the world know at that point there's only one Godzilla. Well, somebody even said, the reason why they called it Zilla was twofold. Toho said, I think it was Tomoyama, had said something along the lines of Hollywood took the god out of Godzilla. And then
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then
that's cool.
Someone else had made a reference over at Toho of the fake Zillas. You got like Bartzilla from Simpson or Hogzilla. They're like, that's what this was. It wasn't the real thing. So that's why they went with the name Zilla, and that's what they kept it at. But he did see other appearances. He is a favorite of my fans.
GMK. He's mentioned in
He
GMK.
is, yeah, that's right. He is mentioned in the beginning of the GMK.
Well, he's alluded to GMK.
Everyone knew what they were talking about, because they even said there in the movie, like, and that was a Kaneko line, because Kaneko even dogged the film. Shisuke did. He was even
Yeah.
like, what in the world were they thinking? But and then in GMK, they're like, they heard a Godzilla showed up. They said no. They don't think that's really who it is. It's like, that's not really it. It's Americans don't know what they're talking about. But I mean, but the creature Zilla has definitely has his own following, because I mean, you see a lot of stuff, especially on Godzilla fan boards and groups. It's a pretty regular topic, this film.
Yeah, it is.
People want to go, why is it so bad? And people defending it or people destroying it and things like that.
I mean, I have a theory about that when it gets to be my turn. I'll explain myself and tell you.
I can't
about
wait
my
to hear that one.
theories.
So I mean, it was the first attempt. Yeah, I mean, and financially, it did great.
I think probably the this is just my opinion, is this created some new Godzilla fans.
Yes,
it did.
That had never seen or the older Godzilla or
you
the
guys
original
heard me say
Godzillas.
that. Different shows. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So I mean, and it definitely did, because it deserves some credit there. Even though I don't want to give it.
I wasn't trying to give it credit. It does, unfortunately.
Yeah. But let's jump into this thing, because I mean, even though it left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, not everybody's, but I mean the business and everybody's. Well,
I mean, it obviously did good because you bought some stuff.
Oh my God!
I mean, there is a magazine.
Came with
there is things that you purchased
that you know of, Mark.
That I know of.
Have a stash.
Everything is on
I
view.
agree, Ruben. There could be things there that I don't know about.
There is no hidden stash.
You never know, man. If you ever find a safe deposit key, you know where it goes.
I am headed right there. You know that.
Yeah.
With a camera.
No. I've only bought one Godzilla this thing, and that's it.
And what was that?
That poster magazine.
Oh, a magazine. A poster.
Yeah. It's $2. I haven't even
ceiling in the bedroom, or
it's not. No, I ain't. No, there are much better. I'm not hanging a poster of this movie up.
I'm gonna have to disclaimer, because I just remembered I do have a Taco Bell memorabilia cup of Godzilla 98.
Ruben. And now you.
Yeah, it's the big cup. It's got the Godzilla on top, so it's the cup, and then Godzilla.
I remember that.
And I also have the Jar Jar Binks one.
So I mean, so he's got the worst of the Godzilla, and he's got the worst of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not going to dog it too much.
Yeah, Ruben. Yeah. Maybe your mic needs to mute or something when you start to talk.
It's so funny when I said, I don't have nothing here. I don't have anything, and I said, you know what? I forgot, because I don't know. My house is set up. We live on the first level. It's a 2-story house. The second story was an apartment. Now it's just storage, and it's kind of like that's where my man cave is going to be. My nerd cave is going to be in the second level of this house.
Oh, nice.
And so right now I have it set up. I have some shelves up, and I have some stuff, some Dallas Cowboys paraphernalia that I've collected throughout the years, and I've got that cup. I've got that Godzilla cup and Jar Jar Binks sitting there on the shelf, and I'd forgotten all about it until I said I don't have anything, and I'm like, you know what? I do have something.
Collection only goes up from there, Rube.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, anything's better than the cup.
But we've been talking about this for how long now?
A long time,
and he has never mentioned
that.
That is
I never did.
Came out.
Nope. If it wasn't for the show, I probably wouldn't even remember.
He was saving it the whole time.
Yeah.
Every time this has been brought up for the last 2 years,
I will not talk about that until we actually do the show.
He felt a little strength having.
Yeah. Well, also I saw how Mark, uses it as a battering ram against sludge. So I'm like, oh man, should I tell? And actually, really, honestly, I just remembered I had it. I'm like, hey, I forgot I had that. And that's because it's sitting on the shelf up there, and I just never looked at it. And
I think this was something on the shelf too.
I was looking for some boxes, and I found that Jar Jar. Yeah, I mean, hey, when RJ RJ has a Jar Jar 12-inch action figure or something.
I hope he's gotten better with his finances since then.
Yeah. Well, he didn't buy it. I bought it for him. He was
not
even 5.
Yeah.
When did Phantom come out? Phantom came out in
99, right?
99. Yeah. I blocked a lot of that year out of my life.
Yeah, so he was about 3 or 4 years old when we bought him that. He's a little kid because he was born in '98. But I remember him watching Phantom Menace on VHS when George Lucas was withholding everything on DVD, so you could only watch Star Wars on that. But he did. I mean, of course, Darth Maul. I mean, he was a kid. Who doesn't love Darth Maul?
Well, yeah.
But there's some I have some Godzilla '98 figures up there. He's got that big old, I guess it's 14 inches or so long. He's not tall.
Oh
He's
yeah,
long.
yeah. I know which one you're talking about too.
Yeah.
And I don't own it.
That one.
Just so we.
And then I think
checking.
he might have a baby Godzilla too, or baby Zilla, and that's about it really. Because it just there wasn't that many toys around. They were clearance. That's why he got them.
Yeah, the toy run for the movie did not go long at all.
No, it didn't, and they all ended up being. As a matter of fact, I got a little Treadmaster. It's the version of the 10-inch that y'all are talking about, but it's a smaller 6-inch.
Mm-hmm.
I got that at Big Lots, like for $3.
That's what I think. As far as the figures for the movie for me, because I remember I got the cup thing at Taco Bell. I think did I?
Yeah.
I may have had it. I remember seeing it. I don't remember.
I have no knowledge.
But as
of that.
far as buying memorabilia at the time,
yeah, it was not that much.
I don't think I bought anything. I didn't have a figure. I didn't have a magazine. I didn't have nothing. Because I was
my nephew is like Justin. He defends that movie to the end.
Well, let's get into it. Let's jump on this one. So, I'm going to absolutely tear this thing apart. So
you haven't
start
already
ripping.
started?
Oh, yeah,
Start ripping.
It's been a while since I've gone first. Let me go ahead and get the negativity out of the way. For me, this movie, I mean, I try because as we rated this a little different than we did most films. I mean, most films we give 1 stomp rating, and we decided before the show to give this a stomp rating based on it being just a monster film, because a big argument to some people is, well, if it wasn't named Godzilla, it would be actually pretty good, and that's actually a pretty regular part of the argument among Godzilla fans. So we gave this a rating as if it's not a Godzilla film, just a monster film, and then we gave this a stomp rating as a Godzilla film. So, I mean, it's hard to not, I mean, because it's Godzilla. Yeah. This was the first American Godzilla film, in which if I was Henry Saberstein, I'd be pissed. Because, I mean, like, Henry did some justice for Godzilla and kept Godzilla coming over here for years. And he's the one who fought and got this to happen. And then this happens, I'd be furious if I was Henry.
Oh, yes.
I would be so mad. But, I mean, so as a Godzilla film, I have to look at it that way. And for me, it's just absolutely nothing was good about this movie. I mean, even the nuclear aspect of the film, I felt like it was just there because they had to do a checklist for Toho.
They needed it for the origin and to consider it Godzilla, basically.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just because it goes from that to earthworms. You know what I mean? Like, it was there, but they didn't care enough about it. You know what I mean? When you go back and watch the original Godzilla or 85 or even the 2014, I mean, the nuclear part of it's such a bigger aspect because it's that's the core of who Godzilla is. Even as he moves along into the 70s, and becoming a hero.
The moral of Godzilla is that nuclear aspect.
It is. You know what I mean? Because
under the rug on this.
Yes.
Because even like in the 70s, he's a hero, but he's a tortured hero. You know what I mean? He's still a victim. I mean, he's not supposed to be what he is. He is what he is because we made him that way. You know, I mean, and so it's always there. And that just really wasn't here. And I think part of it was because Dean and Emmerich, they wanted to make him an animal, period, not a monster.
Yeah.
And they stated that. And I think that really takes away because Godzilla's not an animal. He is a monster because he was turned into one. So it made that character, there was no life to the character for me at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. That is one of my critiques.
Oh man, it drove me nuts. You know, and the design, it's not a horrible design. It's really not. I mean, Patrick Tatopoulos is one of the greatest special effects designers out there. You know what I mean? He's really kind of the guy that, you know, back in the 80s and 90s especially, I mean, it was Stan Winston. I mean, Stan Winston even did the design for the John DeMont original one. Mark's got to pull up on his phone, actually.
Yeah.
And it's a great design, and it's very much Godzilla. It looks awesome. Of course, they've added their stuff to it, and it is just superb looking. But it was not until Patrick hit the scene that you kind of started to see Stan's name disappear, because you started to see Patrick's name show up, because Patrick really is super talented. And he did a great job with the design. I won't knock him for it. It is a good looking monster design, but it's just definitely not Godzilla by any stretch of the mean of the word. I mean, it's just not. And he's in New York, which is great, but he is small. He is drastically small, running in between these buildings. And that was a hard thing for me. I mean, I couldn't imagine being a New Yorker watching this movie, because I've been to New York before once, and it's just, there's no way. I mean, there's no way that thing is running through the streets.
It's going to fit between buildings. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not the way that he does. So it made it very unbelievable immediately for me when you see him doing that. And then the human characters, the way they handle Godzilla front to start to finish was horrible in every way. The burrowing thing was, I mean, it makes no sense. I mean, as big as he is, the buildings should have, the buildings would have started falling in. I mean, it just scientifically did not hold up whatsoever. As big as he's got to drill or tunnel through these things, there's no way making all this tunneling underneath New York that these buildings, they're like, where's he at? We can't find him. We'll look for any building that's fallen down, because the weight is going to crush underneath that. So it just, the tunneling thing made no sense whatsoever to me. And the babies, I was just like, this is just absurd. Like, I mean, because at the time, we had little Godzilla in the Heisei series and Junior, and he was cool. But it just made me feel like I was going through a Mania relapse again, mixed with Jurassic Park. It made no sense. It felt like it was just something thrown in and convoluted the storyline. I'm here to
Jurassic
see
Medias.
Yeah, the Jurassic Medias, exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm here for Godzilla. If you're not going to have him fight another monster, don't flood it with something this stupid. Toho knew ahead of time. They waited several movies before they brought the Son of Godzilla in. So, I mean, it was a plot that just made no sense to me. I didn't like the designs were supposed to be the same, but they were so big-headed that I don't understand how they didn't just fall over every time. I mean, like, the heads were gargantuanly bigger than the body. And then, of course, we get to the end. He somehow fits on that bridge instead of towering over it. That's what I love about, like, the 2014 film. Okay, in the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, like, Gareth is like, we're putting him next to a bridge. Oh, yeah. Because we're going to let Sony TriStar know what they did wrong.
Right.
I mean, this thing fits in the bridge.
Yeah.
And 2014's Godzilla is just towering over it and just rips through it like it's nothing. And then he gets killed by 12 missiles. You know what I mean? Like, this just wasn't a Godzilla. Yeah. There was nothing about it.
Yeah.
Him being indestructible is not there.
The invincibility factor wasn't there.
No, totally gone.
Godzilla. I'm not saying Godzilla was invincible, but he was pretty close. I mean,
yeah, he really was. I mean, it took a lot for them to try and take him down. And I mean, even usually it was a mech or some major monster, because the army just couldn't do it. I mean, so the spirit of the monster, the spirit of Godzilla himself, just was not in this thing at all, anywhere or any form.
Well, if their goal was to just make an animal, they definitely got that.
Yeah, I mean, even at one point, they even talked about giving chameleon.
The animal they created had no life. If that makes any sense.
None. To me. So I mean, it didn't capture the essence of what Godzilla's supposed to be, especially with the nuclear message. It was just kind of thrown in there haphazardly. He's not indestructible, and even if you wanted to kill him and make him not indestructible, he needed to have some kind of toughness to him, because he really didn't. I mean, every time he got shot, he bled. So that was a big issue. The size and the design I just couldn't get into. But then the big thing. The one thing we all have to see on a Godzilla movie is what? You expect it.
Atomic breath.
Exactly. Yes. Nowhere to be found whatsoever. What we do get is him roaring at the main characters as they run away in a taxi, and you see them at where they added in his hot breath mixes with some fire coming out of the sewer, and it just ignites. And that's what we get. Yeah. Like, and when I was a kid, going into seeing this in theaters, that just royally pissed me off. And still to this day does. Thankfully, the Apology animated series fixed that problem. But to me, nothing about the characters was Godzilla for me at all. I mean, especially as, going to the theaters to see it and being hyped up as much as I was. And Mark, you remember this. I mean, I was so stoked.
Oh, yeah.
We
all were.
Yeah. And I'd even gotten a bootleg of the movie. I had the movie on VHS before it came out.
I remember that.
And I was like, I could watch this, but I'm not going to, you know what I mean? Because I want to see a big screen. So I was so excited. And it was just a major letdown. That VHS was never watched. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, I just ended up selling it to somebody. I mean, it just made me so mad. But then, like, even the human characters, the acting is so weak and people are so out of place. Yeah, I mean, Maria Patillo, okay, Aubrey, first off, has she been in anything else?
No.
Not that I know of.
That woman cannot act. She
was eye candy.
She wasn't even eye candy. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
not at
well,
all.
compared
that
to
was
the
her
rest of
shot
the
at.
cast.
I mean,
compared to the rest of the cast.
Well, I mean, yeah. Of course, you got Hank Azaria, who was the saving grace of the film. John Reno, who is a great actor, but this is the worst movie I've ever seen him in, even for his standards. I mean, going from Leon the Professional, or even Wasabi, or anything he's ever done, to this, like, take away everything else in the movie. His acting in this movie compared to Leon the Professional, what happened, John? Yeah. Like, dude, you're a great actor. You're not in this movie. Everybody, just nobody fit.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You've heard the theory that when they get, what is the word? They play down because they know they're not in a good movie. So they don't
the Ben Affleck paycheck scenario. Yes. That's what it is. Ben Affleck.
Yeah, there you go. The Ben Affleck paycheck scenario.
Yep. I mean,
and I think that's what happened.
Probably was. And even I can't even think of his name. Ferris Bueller Day Off. Holy cow.
Matthew
Broderick.
Yeah.
I love Matt. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's a great. There's not a movie I haven't really liked him in. I mean, Project X and War Games.
Ferris
Bueller's Day Off. Yeah. He's a great actor. He did not fit in this movie. His character was just. He had like maybe one or two moments where it's like, okay, I can believe you. You know what I mean? But for the most of the time, it's just like, all I can get out of my head is, you want to go get a cup of tea? You know what I mean? Or can I make a cup of tea? I'm like, what? Oh my God, he's pregnant. Like, I'm like. His acting was terrible. The only one that he even did a halfway decent job or a good job of this was Hank Azaria as Animal. Yeah. He was great. He fit through what that character's supposed to be. I'm going through the whole movie just waiting for him to show up again because I know I'm going to get some kind of comedic relief and at least feel a little bit better while watching it. And then going to today's standards, as far as the CGI, the action sequences were okay. The size and the buildings was a major problem, but you had some cool shots. I'll say, like when he jumps on top of when they hit the Chrysler building, you know what I mean? He jumps up on that building, which again, how are any of these buildings holding his weight? But anyway, so he jumps up, missiles go around. That was a cool shot. After he beats the Army's attack the first time, he jumps up on the side of the building and roars in the lightning. That was a cool shot for the monster, you know what I mean? But going back and watching it, I mean, it just even now the special effects don't really hold up. Because with these 90s films, we tend to go back to Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park still was better looking than this. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Jurassic Park pretty much set the bar and
it held that bar for a long time.
For these other movies. Yeah.
So I mean, I just and even as if it's not a Godzilla film, then I have to go back and go, this is a Beast from 20,000 Fathoms remake. Like it really truly is. Take away the babies. That's what that movie. It's more like that than it is Godzilla. But the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms was so far superior. Even the special effects look better, and it's stop motion. I mean, I go back and watch my Blu-ray of that, and I mean, and they did such a phenomenal job with the matte sequences. Harryhausen he just mastered that even then it looked better to me. You know what I mean? It's more realistic, more tangible. And then he fits in the buildings, you know what I mean? And even at the amusement park at the end when they're fighting him, and he's so big in that one that when they do kill him, it actually makes sense because they shoot him with a rocket, which does nothing to him, but it's the poison inside that they use to kill the creature. Okay, so if they'd have done that scenario in Godzilla in this film, that would have been way more. I would have accepted that. Versus him getting killed by a handful of missiles. You know what I mean? Shooting with a missile, because you have to bombard him because he heals fast, but put a poison in it or an anti-nuclear thing in there, and him die from that.
They could have just poisoned the fish.
Yeah. So I mean, so I could have gotten down with that, but they just didn't. And then to me, the expectations going in was high. I mean, to be honest, to be 100 completely honest with you, this time I just watched this. I think, if I'm being 100% honest, may have been my third time watching this film, including release date in '98. Because I've watched it once with Jada. And that's it. I don't think I've watched this because it's just, to me, it's a bad taste for Godzilla in my mouth, and for a Godzilla monster movie, there's so many better films that were handled better. I felt like the whole thing, especially for like Jean Reno, and that's a good point that Ruben makes, and even for Dean, because even Dean and them, they were like, well, we just didn't want to. We never watched Godzilla growing up. We wanted to do something different. We just didn't want to do. We thought it was stupid,
Yeah.
So I felt like it was a paycheck. But I mean, so that's me.
But what they didn't realize is that's what the fans wanted.
Oh yeah, they realized afterwards.
Well, oh yeah,
I'm like, hey, wait a minute now.
Sure.
It's been successful. It's like, it's like these people that say, oh, I would have done it different. I'm going to use this as an example. It's like somebody will say, oh, my parents, I'm going to do it different than my parents did it. I'm like, well, how did you turn out? Well, I came out okay. I said, well, then your parents did something right.
Right. Yeah.
What you're looking at, what is that? That's 1998. The original Godzilla come out in 54. So what is that? 44 years of being
40 years of being successful.
Successful in a certain monster, and then it comes to America to be, all this PR, and here comes Godzilla. Godzilla's coming, bam, boom, 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 and then it's not him.
Yeah,
that's such a letdown, and irregardless of how much money the movie grosses, it's not Godzilla.
Yeah,
and
I think that showed because they dropped the sequels.
Yeah. And I think that was major.
Well, because it dropped with it from its first week, and we'll get on, and I'll say this, and then we'll move into one of you guys as far as what you liked or disliked, because I mean, there's just Hank Azaria's the only thing I like about this movie. It dropped 59% its second week in sales here in America. That is a major drop. That's bad.
And that's just word of mouth. Remember back then, the internet was just a baby.
Yeah.
98, you might have had AOL, maybe not.
And I think Wall Street Journal was saying, I think it was like, in order for this movie to be a success in America, it needed to gross about $240 or $250 million, and it didn't even come close.
No,
didn't come close.
And like I said, that's where they made their mistake. They said, "Oh, we're going to do something different." No, you don't do something different. You're going to fail.
It does. It doesn't work.
And this movie actually won a lot of awards, but they weren't the awards they wanted to win. At the 19th Golden Raspberry Awards, it won worst supporting actress, worst remake or sequel, worst director. It was nominated for worst picture. The Saturn Awards actually
that will get you canceled.
Yeah, I mean, the Saturn Awards did give them a win for best special effects, which at the time I guess was pretty good. But I mean, worst song. The 1998 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards gave it worst screenplay, worst song and motion picture. So it only got one positive award. So let's go on. Ruben, you next, man.
All right. Okay, I'll go next. This movie was a huge disappointment for me because I was a huge Godzilla fan. You guys know that, and I was so excited when I first saw the trailer. I remember telling my wife at the time, "Oh man, you know what? We're gonna go see that the day it comes out." And I was so excited, and it leading up to it, And part of the reason that I think so many people soured on it, like myself, is not so much. I mean, the movie is poorly done as far as the story is not original. They just kind of copy and pasted it from the movie you were talking about.
Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
I mean, for some reason it just left my mind. Beast from 20,000 Phantoms, and they made it just different enough so that, but it's not. Anybody who's going to go watch a Godzilla movie saw right through it. That's the problem. Is they underestimated the audience. I think, if you ask me, this is just my opinion. They said they're too dumb. We're just gonna give them this, and they're gonna go for it because it's Godzilla.
Yeah.
And they underestimated, I don't want to say our intelligence, but the fandom. They underestimated the fandom and how serious we take our Godzilla movies.
And I think one of the faults too is the fact that Sony actually did not do a test screen for this movie. Did you guys know that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because if they would have, we might have gotten a different product.
I think we definitely would have. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why, and I'm trying to use the right words, because what I'm saying might sound a little terrible, but I'm just saying that when they did it, and I'm not saying, well, they're just stupid, but let's just say they underestimated the audience, and they thought that they could just throw together whatever they could, and everybody would love it. Which there's fans out there that love it. There's plenty of them. My theory on that is because it really depends on the age. I bet you these people that are defending it, that might have been one of their first Godzilla movies ever.
Oh yeah.
So it holds that nostalgia for them. So they that's why they defend it to the very end. My nephew defends it, even though he saw Megalon way before he saw this one. But he still, he swears.
It's a better
by
movie.
It. He swears by it. So my theory is there's a lot of nostalgia involved in why people. And Justin, when it's his turn, he can tell us why he likes it. It might not be nostalgia. I don't know how old Justin is versus me versus RJ versus Sludge and Mark here, but I think that's a big part of it. And I'm going to refer back to one of your thorns there, Sludge. RJ loves Revenge of the Sith.
No.
He just thinks it's so good.
I bet he's so excited that Haydenson's coming back for the Obi-Wan show.
He just thinks it's and he'll put it up against it. But when he saw it, he was at that age, man, where I saw Star Wars originally, and so that's where I started piecing it together. I'm like, you know what? It might have something to do with that. As far as which movies you like and which you don't like, it really depends on your age and the circumstances and a lot of that. I mean, is Monster Zero the best movie in the Godzilla series? Heck no, it's not, but it's my favorite.
Right. I mean, yeah, you're right there. I mean, 85 is my favorite.
Yeah.
And that's by far not a great Godzilla film. The American version.
So I think a lot of that has to do with the situation and not the situation, just the circumstances in which that movie was part of your life when it came out. So I think that's why 98 gets a little bit, because, I use RJ as an example because I saw that. I got to see what it was like through his eyes. I remember, what it was like. So I'm like, I can kind of understand why he holds it in high esteem, because that's the movie that he was at that prime age. Let's just put it that way. So back to this movie. Sorry. Back to 98. Now, 98, I'm pulling in August here. I'm going off on the side with all these stories, but they're not as great as his.
Oh man, they're so good.
Yeah, his were so good. This movie, I was going to say the parts I liked about this movie are when the Tristar Pegasus comes out.
And then when the credits roll.
And the Centropolis sequence. And then not necessarily the song, but he gets the sample of the Come With Me song because it samples Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Those are the great parts. And actually, this movie as a monster movie, stripping anything that's Godzilla, is below average, but not a total bomb. That being said, this is going to be a bold statement. I'd rather watch Godzilla's Revenge than this movie.
Absolutely. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I'll put up with me and you talking.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather watch Godzilla's Revenge than this movie. And that has to do, again, with the nostalgia part. Like, hey, this is the movie I grew up watching versus this. Now, in 98, I was a full-fledged adult when 98 came out. I had already been married, and RJ was born the year this movie came out. So all that being said, so I saw that through I saw 98 through adult eyes. So when I saw it, I was totally disappointed, but some of that disappointment came from the fact that I was already an adult. So, it didn't have none of that nostalgia feel to it to me. And I don't know, I can blame the movie itself for that, because of how that's just how I feel. If you strip it all that back and just look at the special effects were decent, but the story was bad, the acting was bad, and they stripped Godzilla of nearly everything that was Godzilla except for the roar.
Yep.
Other than that, they just stripped everything away. The roar, the only thing that makes this a Godzilla, that makes him Godzilla, is the roar. And the fact that he was created by a nuclear accident. But that can be said about Tarantula. That could be said about...
Yeah, I mean, Glenn from The Amazing Colossal Man was a nuclear accident.
Exactly. That can be said about that. So that's not necessarily a Godzilla trait. So then we get back to, okay, it's just a roar. That's it. That's the only thing that's Godzilla. And there was just, the story was so choppy. Like, you want to know the thing that bothered me the most? And it's a small, minuscule thing. But this was created because he's the first, he's the first of his kind. And he lays 200 eggs in Madison Square Garden, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, apparently, in this movie, he was created somewhere in 1968 in a nuclear test. So it took 30 years for him to get that size, go into Madison Square Garden, and lay 200 eggs. But yet, as soon as those baby Godzillas get born, they're talking about, well, they're all born pregnant. They're all born pregnant, and they're going to overrun. They're going to overrun us if we don't do something about it. So wait a minute, it took 30 years for the first one to lay eggs. Why are we in a hurry? Just round them up. I said, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So much about the story doesn't make any sense. And that was just the one thing that bothered me. There was plenty of things, like I'll say, okay, so what is this exactly? If he's the first of his species, then what's his origin? Okay, he's created from the nuclear explosions that France was doing. Okay, so he was something before. He just got mutated. So he's not the first. He just got mutated, but it took him 30 years to lay those 200 eggs. And then to say, well, they're all born pregnant. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it just, that bothers me to no end. I said, wait a minute, you're just saying that they're going to overrun us and become the dominant species, but this one took 30 years to get full size and then lay the eggs. Yeah. So
I never even thought about that.
Yeah,
that's just
it
crazy.
didn't make no sense to me. It bothers me.
I like it even less now. Thanks, Ruben.
You see? So it just bothered me to no end at that.
Well, for some reason too, he had to migrate halfway across the world.
Yeah, he had to migrate halfway across to somewhere his species has never been in. I'm like, okay, why New York?
Yeah, because you see the rock iguanas at the beginning, so you assume that's what he is.
Exactly.
They're not from there.
But I think they talk about how he comes to New York just because to lay the eggs in Madison Square Garden. Like, that's the only place that he can lay it.
That's the only place. I mean, and that's it. And then for 30 years, no one spotted him.
Yeah.
For 30 years, he was nowhere to be found. He didn't attack any ships. He didn't do any of that. Okay, so I'm like, okay, where was he for 30 years, and what was he eating?
Yeah.
And for that matter, why would he have to attack the ship to get fish when he can just go in the water and get as many as he wants?
Exactly.
So that part didn't make any sense either. So this movie just suffers from so many just jagged parts of the story that it just makes it almost unwatchable. Like Sludge here, I think I've seen this movie a total of maybe 5 times. Disclaimer, I had the VHS and I bought it. I bought the VHS. I said, well, I'll just give it another chance. Maybe it'll grow on me this time. It didn't. RJ, I think he's only seen it once.
That is another thing he owns.
The inventory is growing
with Ruben. Yeah,
he's got the cup. Now he's got the VHS.
No. You're right. I have. Okay, let me just go ahead and list what I have. I have the Godzilla 98. I have the VHS and I have the DVD. That's it. I never got the Blu-ray. and apparently there's a 4K out there. I do not have.
I think
4K.
there is. Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
And so I have those two things. Then I've got the rest is RJ's really, because that cup,
That's what I'm gonna start doing. Those toys are Gavin's.
Gavin's.
Those are Gavin's. It's brilliant.
And then that toy, which I'm trying to put the story. I'm trying to get my story together. No, I'm trying to. RJ was born in 1998, so I said, well, how do you end up with a Godzilla '98 toy?
Because
I just don't know. It had to be my nephew, because my nephew was just, like I said, they played together and stuff. So I don't know how he ended up with one, but he's got one. I swear he's got one. And then that Taco Bell deal. Well, I got that with,
Well, it came with a
all the
32-ounce cup.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
that Taco Bell cup, and it's Godzilla '98, but it's a cool cup because it's got the giant figure sitting right on top of it. And that I think that is as far as it goes. That baby Godzilla that RJ has too. And then that's it, because I saw it and I was just disappointed. I'm like, man, I'm just so disappointed. Got the VHS, was disappointed again. And then I think the VHS got viewed once, and that was it. That was the end of that. And I think it was even a gift for Father's Day from my mother-in-law. I didn't even buy it.
I've got it because I never bought it on VHS technically I did. I bought the bootleg.
Yeah.
And sold it. Then when it came out on VHS, didn't buy it, didn't want to buy it. But I think it was a couple years ago, and I was building my collection up of just movies, or I had all the Godzillas. I realized I didn't have this one. I just didn't own this movie at all. So I was like, all right, I need to at least get it. Have a physical copy of the film, because when me and Jada watched it, we watched it on like cable. We didn't watch a version of mine. So I went and bought it on DVD in like the $3 bin or whatever. It's still shrink wrapped up there. Like I think it's it was the blue cape. What was the monster edition or something?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I think. Justin, do you know, didn't they do like a special edition or something at one point?
They may have. The only copy of it that I have is the original DVD release that came with. I worked at Blockbuster for a while.
Oh, see, here's the fan,
Godzilla.
and he got it for free.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Kidding.
But here's the thing: when DVDs first started coming out, they came with a copy of the VHS.
Really?
So,
wow, I didn't know that.
So I got they came together. I got the VHS.
It was a tandem. It was a combo pack, kind of like they do the Blu-rays with the DVDs now.
Yeah. So I had that. I don't have the VHS anymore, but that's the DVD I have. It's not a special edition or anything. It's the original release.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Like, see, I think that's cool. I think collecting the memorabilia is all right, but
see, so this is okay.
Okay.
This little figure's okay.
Man,
I think
Ruben,
really, that's all right.
What has happened? Oh, life is. None of this. For how long did we talk about this movie and buying this stuff? And he was on my side, said nothing about any of this the whole time.
This jarred my memory. It was there was that suppressed memory. Like when something really bad happens to you, and you just say, and you just kind of suppress it, and then all of a sudden you're sitting a psychiatrist lying down, and he hypnotizes you, and you remember everything. That's what just happened.
Well, okay.
I will give this movie credit for one thing, and you guys know what I'm going to say. If it wasn't for this movie, so much of the Japanese Godzilla would not have made it to this side of the.
That's true. You have said that, yeah.
I mean, the
Heisei
said that
series.
before. The Heisei series would have then made it over here. If it wasn't for this movie, we might have not got a Godzilla 2000
over here. That's correct.
Yeah, we might not got. Toho might have not said, because they made Godzilla 2000. I think they said, you know what, we need to fix this, and we need to fix this fast.
Yeah, they did.
And so they came out with Godzilla 2000,
which is awesome if you think about it. And I don't know, and then we'll get Justin in here on the things that he likes so he can defend this film. But real quick on Godzilla 2000. We talk about how so much this 98 film is like Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. But then when you go look at Godzilla 2000, what's the first sequence of that movie? Yeah. He's at the lighthouse with the ship, which is the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Yes. I don't know if they did that intentionally, but like, okay, that's kind of cool. So, but we need some defense on this film. So Justin, let us have it, man. Give this movie some defense.
Yeah, and counter our points if you can, Justin. You know,
Well,
No
something
pressure. There's no
none
pressure
at all.
whatsoever.
You're good, man.
Yeah.
so do you may go into my likes and dislikes, or
Yeah.
or do you want to know how that I used to hate it and now I don't?
Well, I do want to find out about that, but definitely.
Yeah.
So however you want
I'm
to transition
curious
those
about that
together.
myself.
All right, let's just go ahead. I'll tell you what I like about it. Hey, Ruben, your theory is partially correct. There's quite a bit of nostalgia involved.
Yeah, I figured.
But it's not because I was my first Godzilla movie.
Okay.
I
It
knew
doesn't
about
have to be nostalgia. Could be, anything. Your first year of marriage or anything.
Yeah, I only knew about like 8 other Godzilla films before this one came out.
Okay.
We didn't have the internet. I didn't have any of the magazines or anything. So this opened the door. Like when I went to Suncoast after this marketing campaign started.
Oh man, I love.
I went to Suncoast and I looked on the shelf and I was like, "What is that?" I saw the Heisei series sitting there and I was like, "You gotta be kidding me!" And I spent like $150 that day, because
Nice.
they were like $20 a piece, and I had to get them. But anyway, so there's that, and a lot of cognitive dissonance. Here's the main reason. I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way. So when I get into my likes, maybe let me make more sense. The main reason that I started liking this movie is because of X-Men Days of Future Past.
Okay.
Okay.
I gotta hear this.
Yes.
I gotta hear this.
Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Halfway through that movie, maybe 3/4, Beast gives the explanation about throwing the rock into a lake, and how the ripples don't just go backwards and forwards, they go from side to side. The ripples go all the way around and they go out. So he was giving that explanation about, if you mess around with time, it's going to create problems all the way around, right? It's going to change things all the way around it. So I started thinking about that. And I thought, hey, this really relieves a lot of problems with this X-Men storytelling, right? Like how X-Men 3 doesn't make any sense when First Class comes out. Okay. So I started applying that logic to everything that I watched, like Batman recasts, from going from Michael Keaton to Val Kilmer. Well, why is it Val Kilmer now? Well, because the space-time continuum got screwed with somewhere, right?
Right.
There's multiple dimensions. It's the multiverse.
It's the multiverse.
It's like the DC extended universe in my mind. I was playing around with that back when Days of Future Past came out. So then I started thinking about this movie, and then I started breaking it down, and now I 20 years later, I like it. I like it a lot. I really love this movie. So I'm going to go into my likes. All right.
Okay.
The marketing.
Hold on.
Yeah.
It's like
I don't see the connection. Do you?
No. I do. Totally do.
You do? I don't. I'm having a hard time with it. I'm still thinking about it.
But I just want to make sure. So in order to like the film, you had to create
your own universe,
a time warp to make the movie acceptable, right?
Well, yes, at first, but once I saw Godzilla versus Megaguirus, Toho did it for me.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Okay, go on with your likes. I got you. Just said it all for me right there. I'm in complete agreement with you now, Justin. Because I'm not a big fan of that movie at all either, and they totally Yep, I'm with you, 100%.
That is a weak film. So,
But they ripped the wormhole in that film.
Right? Yes.
yeah.
All right, so let's see. I liked the opening. I think the opening scene is great. The with the iguanas and the lizards and stuff.
The music's actually good in that too, I will say.
Yeah, the score. I love the score through the whole movie. The only problem I have with it is it's one of those movies where there's music constantly playing, through every scene.
Oh, that's Devlin and Emmerich. Go back and watch Stargate or Independence Day or anything they do. All their movies are like that.
Yeah.
It's very annoying.
Yep.
I mean, even if it's good music, I'm tired of hearing it after a while. But during that scene, it's showing man on that island just tearing it apart and ripping it up for this testing that they're wanting to do, and I think that's classic Godzilla in my mind. Man caused this problem, I really, and that ties up at the end as well, but I'll get to that in a second. But it's constantly raining. I love films that are always wet, like dark and rainy. And the funny part about that is Matthew Broderick was having trouble with his wetsuit filming this movie. And it's because his zipper was in the back, right? So he sees Hank Azaria's zipper on his wetsuit. They had to wear wetsuits because there was so much rain. And they're getting dressed between scenes, and he sees Hank Azaria's wetsuit and the zipper's in the front. And Matthew Broderick's like, how did you get a wetsuit with the zipper in the front? He said, it takes me an hour to get into this thing. And Hank Azaria says, all the zippers are in the front.
You've been wearing it backwards the whole time.
He's been wearing the thing backwards the whole time. That's hilarious. So anyway, that's not part of the movie.
Yeah.
The first couple of quote unquote attacks, he's not really attacking anything. He's just trying to eat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really reminded me of the darker openings to some of the Showa films. I can't think of which ones right off the hand, but there's an airplane sequence in one of them, and it's real dark and rainy, and they see Godzilla.
Son of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Son of Godzilla.
I love that opening.
Yep.
It's very dark, and that the fishing trawlers and the Japanese fishing ship, they really reminded me of that, and I love that. I loved it. And I think that's, if you can get past it takes this thing 30 years to grow up and get pregnant part.
Yeah.
I think it sets the stage for what's driving him as a character. He's feeding, he's storing up food for
his babies,
his offspring.
Yeah,
that's really all he's doing, and I like that. I think that works. And the characters, they're very two-dimensional, right? Like they're cardboard. No, anybody that argues against that, even if they love this movie,
right.
they're just making stuff up.
Yeah, they have to be. I'm glad you admit that.
Yeah.
But here's what I like about it. I think that works for this movie because what it reminds me of are the old dubs that kind of suck from the Showa era.
Oh yeah.
The international.
So they
dubs.
changed the characters. Like they're dubbed so badly, the characters aren't even the same anymore, right?
That is one of the critiques of a lot of the Showa movies is that the Japanese storyline doesn't come across very good on those dubs sometimes, and which makes the movie terrible. That's why people kind of dump on some of those Showas, but they don't realize that until they watch the Japanese version. So I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes the characters they're cardboard, they're like somebody showed up to read some lines and you can tell it.
And I agree with that.
But what that does for me is it reminds me of the Showa films that I grew up with before these. Like I said, I only knew about 7 of them, and they were all really bad English dubs.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. That kind of makes sense.
I could see that because yes,
And,
it's very cardboard.
Yeah. This movie, man, I'm glad you got that copy on the Plex because it looks 100 times better than my DVD.
Oh yeah. Well, honestly, I got it. And I'm not gonna lie because I forgot I had the DVD. So I was like, oh yeah. Because I got on there, I was like, I need a good copy, and so I got that Blu-ray that.
Yeah, but that DVD, it's a widescreen. I mean, I don't know if y'all ever tried. Now, things develop. I tried watching the widescreen Halloween 2 on DVD because I didn't have the Blu-ray, and man, it was terrible. I'm like, what the heck is this? I'd rather watch the VHS.
Yeah.
It was terrible. So I think that if I'm almost positive that if that Godzilla DVD that you have is probably, it says widescreen anamorphic or whatever, but it's not quite, it's before widescreen. It came out before widescreen TVs came out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was because there's still some pan and scan. You got to look at some of those DVDs if they're pan and scan or widescreen. But even the widescreen ones, they're made to fit on a 4:3 screen. So they're widescreen, but it's cut off and just makes for a terrible picture.
It does.
So I know
it is a good copy that I got on the Plex. Yeah.
I watched. Believe it or not, they've been playing it on Stars this month. So I just got it on demand because it's I have Stars.
Oh, okay.
And so I was Stars Encore. So I just saw it on there. So I got to watch it in 1080p. Because it was in a 1080p.
That's the one
format,
that I've got. Is 1080p.
Yeah, which is the Blu-ray. It's what's on the Blu-ray, So, and I will say it looks good. It looked. I mean, what I was watching, I was watching. I'm like, what? This copy looks good. I didn't know what you had on the Plex, but I'm sorry, Justin. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Hey, whatever support I can get, I'll take. But yeah, so I guess it's the cinematography then, I guess that I like. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, the atmosphere. You like the atmosphere of the picture.
I love the atmosphere. I love it. Yeah. And I love Matthew Broderick. And listen to this. He's essentially the same character as the Wolfpack guy in King of the Monsters 2019.
Which one?
Yeah.
Oh, oh, you were talking about.
No.
Oh, yeah. Her dad, Millie Bobby Brown's dad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He serves the same purpose.
Okay, he serves the same purpose, huh?
Yeah.
That's Kyle Chandler's character. Yeah. I'm about to go back and review that one.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
I'm trying to. Well, where do you see the comparison? Well, let's just let Justin explain where you see why do you think they're both the same character?
Like he's this dude, scientist guy. He's out there studying animals, and they call him in.
Yeah, and he's totally separated from what's going on.
Yeah,
I see where you're going with this. Okay,
not even involved, and shows up, and he's confused, and he starts spouting off stuff, and he's really the only guy that's actually trying to think through it.
Yeah.
Okay. I could see that. Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, see, now that you say, I'm like, you know what? I'll have to agree. You're right. It's the same character. But that's
not totally.
No.
I mean, because
there's no cup of tea.
He lost a child.
Yeah, that's true. What I'm saying is, I guess the outline.
So there's a hatred there.
Yeah, there's a hate. Yeah, he hates God. Yeah, that's true.
And that kind of pulls him in.
He hates Godzilla. He wants to, because Godzilla's responsible for his whole
child.
Yeah. I see that, but I can see where Justin.
But what he's saying is, that makes sense as far as
in the plot, the overall plot. If you're looking at it, I mean, he's a poor man's version of Kyle Chandler's character.
Yeah.
But of course,
he's the two-dimensional version.
He's the two-dimensional version. There you go. That's a better word for it. I should go with that. He's a two-dimensional version of it. He's the action figure versus the real thing. I got you.
Yeah, and he's getting back with his ex through the whole thing. It's
yeah.
If only they had her die in '98, though. That'd be great.
Well, that would have made for at least the story would have been a little bit,
Yeah, there would have been some kind of meat.
There would have been some emotion, because even the other than the comedic relief, even the characters themselves, they were very, I don't know, they were very lifeless, I guess. Like he used the word two-dimensional, and I think that's a good word for it. They were kind of just there. The chemistry wasn't what it could have been, and that's on the casting director. Not that these people are I think they could have done a better job with casting.
Oh, the cast is great. I love the cast.
I like
really, yes. I think they could have done
every actor minus Maria Patillo that's cast in this movie. I mean, Broderick, Renault, Hank Azaria, even I can't think of his name right now. The General Hicks,
Kevin Dunn.
Yeah, Kevin Dunn. Yeah. They're all great actors. Like, I like all of them and everything else I see them in. I don't understand what happened here. I mean, it's like
you see, that's what I'm saying. That's my argument is the chemistry, not the actors themselves.
Yeah,
the chemistry wasn't
the
there.
only little chemistry I think he got was between, honestly, Jean Renault and Hank Azaria. When they're arguing in the cab.
You're right. That was a pretty cool little.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, we're getting there. I'm liking it, and then we got nothing else. But so anyway, sorry, Justin. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. One of the best scenes, and it really helps with my mentally created universe here, is when Reno shows up at the hospital and he's interviewing the survivor of the first incident.
Yeah.
And he finally, he's trying to get a translator and whatever, and he finally just says, "What did you see, old man?" And the old dude says, Gojira, Gojira. And that really tells me, first of all, in the opening credits, I skipped this part. It says based on the character from Toho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it sure does. Mm-hmm. It says owned, based on a character owned. I think it says it uses the word owned by.
It may, but it's based on that character.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then you get to this scene, and the dude says Gojira, right? And then you flash forward to the when Harry Shearer, which is another great actor, steals the news report from Patia or whatever her name is.
Yeah, Audrey.
And he changes it to Godzilla, and then he starts telling about a Japanese sea serpent, like a legend or something.
Yeah,
that
he does.
Hasn't shown up in any mythology that we've heard of yet, right?
Yeah.
This strengthens my theory that they weren't even trying to make this creature in this movie Godzilla.
Well, I was fixing to bring this up too, because when you talked about the old man, I totally forgot about this, and because this was one of the things that I had an issue with was because at first initially I'm like, okay, you're paying respects, calling him Gojira like you should, but then I thought, wait a minute, and this was something I thought from the get-go is these tests were done on the French Polynesian islands.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all know where those islands are at, right? In the South Pacific.
I don't have a clue.
They're as far away from Japan as California is. Like, they're nowhere near it. And I'm like, so how does this Japanese dude, and it goes back with what Ruben's saying, the 35 years I've never seen this thing, all of a sudden calling this thing Gojira like he knows this thing from a set of islands that is not like Odo Island, you know what I mean, which is off Japan. This is a set of islands that's way far off.
Doesn't he light a lighter?
South. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the point of that? I mean, and I'm watching that, and he's like he don't understand. They're trying to get translated, and everything's cool. Then he lights the lighter, and it's Gojira, but yet
he doesn't blow any fly.
There's nothing. What does that? Yeah, where does that come from, and for what point? It just didn't make any sense to me. I was like, okay.
It was still cool though. I will give credit and side with Justin on this one because I want to side with Justin on something on this for sure. He's my buddy.
Yeah.
That was a cool moment though. What did you see, old man? And then just Gojira. Like that was cool. That was probably one of the few moments from like I like that. There you go, Justin.
Yeah.
You got my one support right there.
You got it. That's it.
Awesome. Cool.
That's it.
All right,
You have fulfilled your destiny.
That's more than
I'm done.
I got on
See y'all.
RoboCop. I'll tell you that.
Oh my gosh, dude.
That's right.
You get no support for your decision and determination on RoboCop.
Well, even Justin's on your on that too. So
Even August was like, what? So sorry, Justin. Go ahead.
So every scene, and this is Devlin and Emery, every scene in the movie is epic. Especially, I love the scene. I don't like the old dude fishing. I think that's goofy. And I don't think that this gigantic creature is going to go for a lure. So him pulling the fishing rod out of the old dude's arms is ridiculous.
That made me.
But that scene.
Did it make you think of Jaws at all, Justin? I was wondering this when I was
a
watching.
little bit.
Okay, because it made me think of the scene from Jaws. But go ahead.
Yeah, on the dock with the roast.
Yep, I was thinking that maybe that was a throwback to that or something.
It might have been.
Well, I think the whole movie is a throwback to American 50s sci-fi. I think they were trying to do that more than they were Toho stuff.
I could see that.
Perfect.
I could definitely see that.
I don't know, man. That's a reach, but okay. For me, it's a reach.
Ruben loves his 50s sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I love my 50s sci-fi. And the last thing I would have thought about watching that movie is a 50s sci-fi. But you know what? It could be because it was in color, and 50 sci-fi has to. Well, no, I've seen some color ones, but I don't know. That's a long read. But yeah, I mean, all right, go ahead.
Okay. We've already talked about Animal. He's amazing.
Whoa!
This is one of my favorite scenes.
Shower. I love that. Sorry.
What's that?
You were talking about Animal, and I thought of the scene where they go into the locker room. He's like, "Whoa, this is where like
the Knicks take
showers."
That was awesome. That was awesome.
I laugh out loud every time that comes on.
I love it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes, and it's the best. I don't want to say it's the best, but you know, one of the staples of a Godzilla movie is Godzilla's initial entry into the film when we first see him, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Godzilla 98 has one of my top 5 favorite Godzilla entries. I love it. Like when he's coming and he comes out of the water and there's boats falling and he grabs that one truck and picks it up, and that dude really looks like he literally has no idea what's going on. And the cars hopping when he walks, and the building falling, and nobody can really see what it is. It's the whole thing is just amazing to me. I think that's more realistic.
I mean, it was definitely, I think, a realistic one. But I try to go back and I look at that, and man, it's hard not to go to Legendaries in 2014 because it is a foot stomp at an airport. Everyone's screaming, there's chaos, and then that foot comes down, and it's freaking silence of like, oh my God. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's all it took. That is all it took was one foot stomp.
But I think also, though, in the 98 film, you know, when that boat comes crashing down in front of that guy in the truck, you know, on the freeway there, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, that was a pretty good scene tonight, and I like that.
What I'm referencing the 2014 one is I'm thinking like, okay, you've got those moments where you know, because we know who the monster, we know who Godzilla is. Right. So how do you set up that entrance? You know what I mean? Because when you go back and you look at the original 54 film, his entrance was great, and I think, you know, I mean, because it's tidbits here and there until you finally see him on Odo Island. And then you go to Godzilla Raids again, and it's just boom, right there he is with Anguirus. Right. So when you look at this one, it's kind of like you get those tidbit build up, where in 2014 it's just boom, there he is. You know what I mean? So I think this is one of those ones where you've got a few select times throughout the Godzilla series where he does this build up that Justin's talking about, where you see a little bit here, picking up the truck, the dude not realizing what's going on, and things like that. I remember even being in the theaters liking that moment going, this is cool because they're not giving away much of him.
Right.
And it was really awesome. And that whole opening sequence, you don't see him in full. You see the foot, you see the bit of the leg, you see the mouth or whatever. And so, I mean, it was awesome. And then, of course, they, pissed in our Cheerios 10 minutes later. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. That is a really, really good entrance.
I think what hooked me though is it's filmed from people's point of view. Like a lot of Godzilla entrances are filmed from the audience's point of view.
Right.
Okay.
Like you're watching the movie play out, but G98 is filmed from the people on the street's point of view, and it really draws you in like the old disaster movies. I'm thinking Airport and stuff. You're watching everything from the characters' points of view.
Towering Inferno and stuff. Yeah.
And it makes it so much more realistic to me.
Well, I mean, I'll say 98 is it is realistic. They went too realistic to be a Godzilla film. See, that's one of my deals on that. Is, I mean, if you're gonna go realistic, then you have to draw that line somewhere. And I know exactly what you're saying. They made it more believable, I guess, and the points of view and all that. But that, to me, that takes away from it being a Godzilla film, and more like just a regular monster film, which is
but I quit struggling with that when I finally come to terms with that these guys weren't trying to make a Godzilla film.
Right.
And that would be fine. Then why call it Godzilla?
Well, because the old man said Gojira.
Yeah, they could have changed that easily.
Yeah. They could have, but they wanted the money.
Yeah. And there you go. I mean, and that's what I'm saying is I hear this. Well, and I've said it, I think, on this show before, that it's a decent monster movie. It's just not a good Godzilla movie.
Right.
And that's where I make the separation, which is why we gave it 2 stomp ratings, and we'll find out here at the end of the show what we all gave it. But that's what separates it for me, from my point of view. And actually, I think we can all agree. That's why we gave it 2 stomp ratings, because we didn't want, what would we rate it if it wasn't in a Godzilla universe? And without spoiling it, we all gave it a higher rating as a monster movie than we did as a Godzilla movie. Correct. Except for Justin, who gave them both the same. Yeah. He did it both the same way. But for the rest of us, we all gave it a higher rating as a monster movie than we did as a Godzilla movie. So there is some saving grace to this movie, and I didn't give it as low as Mark and Sludge did.
We'll let that. We'll reveal that.
Yeah. But and I guess because I went into this just to let you. I went into this. I said, okay, look, I'm going to try to be fair and try to look for something good in this movie to talk about, so Justin wouldn't be all by himself. So
thank you.
That's exactly why I exposed that I actually have some Godzilla.
Out comes the truth. It's coming out.
Go ahead, Justin.
I love the creature's movement, and some of the CGI shots on the Plex, not on the DVD, but some of the CGI shots on the Plex are really good. The one I'm thinking of in particular is when he the POVs from the roof, and you see his spines walk past, and then he turns and looks to the right, and he sees all the lights down there where the military's waiting for him. That shot on the Plex is flawless. It's as good as anything in Jurassic Park.
There are a couple good shots.
Yeah, I think it is really good. That's one of my favorite things about the movie.
But to me, I mean, but it's those few moments, because there are a few moments where but I mean, you compare the scene that you're talking about, Justin, there, because it is a beautiful shot, and the CGI is great there, even though there is a lot of actual animatronic mixed in that, but the CGI in it is really good. But then you go and look at the CGI where they attack the Chrysler building or shoot the Chrysler building down, nowhere near as close as good. You know what I mean? In that shot. but there are moments. Yeah, I agree with you. There are moments where it's like
this movie has a lot of moments. It just doesn't come to for me. It just doesn't come together.
I think one of the other good moments too. I don't know if this is on your list, Justin, is when he comes, as far as how good the CGI looks, is when he comes out of the building at the helicopters and hits it. You know what I mean? Like that moment where he comes out of the building and hits that helicopter and goes after the other one. That was great looking. Like the CGI there is phenomenal. But you look at the CGI where he's running between the buildings, it sucks compared to, you know what I mean? So there are some moments where the CGI definitely sticks out above par.
Their biggest mistake was mixing in CGI babies with animatronic babies.
Oh my gosh, yes, because the CGI there was no good scenes, I don't think, with the CGI babies at all. They all looked really CGI.
No. It was they could have limited the number of babies to 7 or 8 or 12 at the most, and not had to have all those terrible shots with CGI.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to, and I know I've talked about this too. That goes back to like, I've talked about this before. Planet of the Apes, the first original, and it was great. And then they did Beneath, and then they decided to go cheap.
Yeah.
And they overdid it, and then now you end up with apes and gorillas, and they're just masks.
You're right.
You see,
You're right.
You just went too far. If you would have just cut back on that stuff and just done the makeup, and you would have been fine. But no, they had to do that, and I think that's what this movie suffers from.
Yeah, one of the things. The buildings, Sledge, you mentioned that when he was running through the buildings, the CGI was terrible. I tend to agree with that for the most part. I think when he bit the helicopter, it looked pretty good. But I want to talk about the buildings. The buildings look terrible.
Oh, they looked worse than the 70s miniatures.
Yeah.
But they look like the 70s miniatures to me.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm glad they did that.
See, that's a nostalgia thing that you're talking about, I guess.
I wonder though if they did that on purpose.
If it wasn't Dean
they should admit it.
So if it wasn't Devlin and Emmerich, I would say yeah, they may have. But being those two, I would have to say no, they didn't do it that way. Because Devlin has openly stated his distaste. They would have
admitted that by now. I mean, don't you think they would have admitted that? Like, well,
because that would have been cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know I would have. If I did it on purpose, I'd make sure I told everybody, hey, look, the reason I did that was as a throwback. Then all of a sudden, all these Godzilla fans would probably say, oh, you know what? That's great.
But wait a second.
Yeah.
The fandom hasn't given those two any reason to say anything in their defense.
What do you mean?
Oh, well.
Because they've treated them like crap since 1998.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Well, now that
is very true.
They have come out and admitted to some mistakes, or Devlin has. Emmerich has not. But Devlin has come out on the record as far as regrets with the film and things he did that he would have changed. But he also has defended some of the things that he's proud of, keeping him animalistic versus a monster. But but Devlin has come out to defend or to apologize a few times, actually.
Well, that's where I was headed next, the animal versus being a monster thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like that he's more of an animal in this. I like that he's actually running and they can't keep up with him, and he's dodging like missiles and stuff instead of taking direct hits. I think for the story that they started in the beginning of this film, that by the point we get to the first real chase scene with the helicopters, he doesn't need to be this massive omnipotent thing. He needs to be what they made him. Otherwise, the story wouldn't have made any sense. In my opinion, the creature would have completely changed by that point. If they're going to have him start as an iguana, he needs to live through the whole movie as an iguana.
Okay.
Gotcha. That's what you're saying.
But again, that goes back to I mean, I don't know. He's so big that I always found it hard to believe. Back to the realistic. Okay, he's so big. How the heck does he hide? And yeah, okay, so they burrow him, but okay, well, didn't they see? I mean, he didn't just burrow instantly, right? Somehow, some way, he had to get underneath there in the tunnels. And I don't know. I find that I know what you're saying, but
I think that was a throwaway shot with that empty building.
Okay.
When they showed when the helicopters blew up the inside of that empty building.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was the filmmakers saying in a throwaway shot real quick, because they didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, that this is how he got underground.
Okay.
Yeah.
See that.
Yeah. I don't know. And not, it just seems, I don't know. Like I said, I would have liked, if he's going to be mutated, then let's mutate the sucker. I mean, let's go for it.
He's pretty dang big.
Yeah. Let's go for it, man. Let's do it.
He had pecs and abs and
yeah. He was pretty buff for an iguana.
I thought that Matthew Broderick's reactions to the other characters and to the situations were perfect. Like the one I'm thinking about immediately is they're sitting in one of the very few boardroom meetings they have. There's only 3. They're sitting in there, and the newscast comes on, and there's information leaked that nobody's talked about.
Yeah.
And Matthew Broderick's reaction to that is perfect.
He's got a shock look on his face.
They said you by name.
On his face.
Yeah.
And they all turn around and look at him, and he's kind of like, what? I didn't do nothing.
Yeah. And then it was everything through the whole movie, though. I think he played really well like that. And even though it's 2-dimensional, but it's good. Here's the way I look at the characters in the movie. The characters in this movie, other than being compared to badly dubbed 70s characters, they are the characters in the cartoon. And the only reason you don't have a problem with them being 2-dimensional in the cartoon is because that's a children's cartoon.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. But I mean, we the expectation for the cartoon set differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what it comes down to, really. I think for 3 of us is the expectations of what we had for a Godzilla film versus what we got.
Oh yeah. Hey, I was right there with you in '98. I went to see it twice to make sure I didn't miss something that I actually liked.
Been like,
I think a lot of
go back
a
again.
lot of the negativity comes.
Did I
just
see
from
the right
that.
movie?
That didn't really happen, did it?
Yeah. Right.
I thought the underwater sequences were excellent as far as CGI. I thought that was the peak of the film.
CGI was handled very well with the underwater shots, I will say.
Yeah.
And that was realistic. I even thought that, I'm like, well, that's cool. He's smart enough to know I'll just outrun it, and then I'll just run right at that other submarine and swim, I should say, at that other submarine.
Well, they did a good job of making him swim like an iguana underwater.
Yeah,
he was good.
Yeah.
Because he is an iguana.
Because he's an iguana.
I do have a question about that. 2 questions, actually. How deep is the Hudson Bay?
Yeah.
Not deep enough from his size in 1998. They have changed the depth of the Hudson Bay. I wanted to say wasn't only like 20 meters or 40 meters.
Submarines are in there, and you got all kinds of stuff going on in there. Yeah.
Yeah, Pete Quint brought that to my attention.
Yeah. Oh, did he? Yeah. That's one of those things. And you mentioned realistic. I'm like, well, they went realistic at some places, and then but then they didn't stick to that formula. They said, well, no, then we got to do it. I said, either give it to me or don't. Give me one or the other. Don't give me both. Don't tell me I'm going to make a realistic film and then say, well, Godzilla's underneath there, and he fits down those narrow streets between buildings and stuff like that. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense at all. And
well, he was tearing stuff up as he was walking through buildings.
Yeah, he was, but I still think, in my opinion, I said, well, wait a minute. Okay, so you have a 4-lane highway, a 4-lane street, right?
Yeah.
Plus sidewalk.
Yeah.
Okay, so how wide would you say between buildings? couple of 100 feet, maybe.
Yeah, at most. Yep. In some
At most,
areas.
let's say 300 feet.
Yeah.
You know, let's just say 300 feet. Let's spread it out and give him 300 feet. So, and you know, I don't know. They had to make him fit in there. And I think that's why they made him, you know, they made him pretty sleek for that reason. But it still wasn't believable for me. And I like when, you know, okay, when he makes a turn, his tail whips and he does all kinds of damage with his
Right.
with the tail, with the whip, tail whip.
But I think
So
like
that's realistic.
on the fishing pier with the old man when he's fishing, you know, and Godzilla's coming to shore and he starts ripping up that pier.
Yeah.
But you can kind of barely just see the spikes coming out of the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah,
And
so
it's,
you know how deeply,
how tall is that pier
Here.
underwater?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long is that pier too? Because I mean, at what point is he smacking his head into the wall there?
Yeah. Where does he?
How
And that
fast
old
is
man, I
an
tell
old
you what,
man?
that old man was
Yeah,
cold.
exactly,
He was really hauling butt.
exactly.
He was an Olympics marathon runner. Okay, back in his day.
Exactly. He was hauling butt. He goes, I'm getting out.
You know, and all that stuff's going on. The other two homeless guys that are sitting up there behind the fence, they don't seem excited about it or nothing.
No.
Like, you know, they're just kind of like, hurry,
They're
come
just-
on, come on, you know.
They live in New York. They've seen it all.
They've
It's
seen it
kind
all.
of crazy.
So my other question is, how do torpedoes work?
Yeah.
The same way missiles do.
Yeah.
Okay, so why were they following him, but missiles wouldn't?
You know, that's a good question. Very good
Because
question.
they did
Oh,
mention,
no, I'm sorry. I know what you're talking about now. No. Because the missiles that they were using, and because they say something in the movie, is because of his temperature. The heat, they were using heat-seeking missiles, so they had to
Yes,
switch
exactly.
later on and not use heat-seeking. Torpedoes don't do that by heat. They use radar just like the submarines do, and so instead of using heat to track, they're using sonar signatures to track.
Oh,
Okay.
there you go.
All right.
So, but I don't know, because then all he has to do is take a right turn, and I guess it would have to follow.
Yeah, once
don't know, that just
once
makes
they
it real
lock
tough.
on to a sonar signature, that's what they're going after. Just like if
Okay.
heat-seeking missiles
All right.
locked onto a heat
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
source.
Yeah.
I'll buy it, I guess.
I'll buy that for $1.
Yeah.
Dollar, yeah. Good enough for government work.
One of my favorite scenes was when Broderick opened that manhole, and then he came up out of the sidewalk like alligator.
Oh yeah, dude, that totally did.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was like
Yep.
an alligator.
Yeah.
Alligator did it better, but it's all right.
Yeah, well, the CG wasn't very good, but I thought it was a cool scene. I liked that scene after they blew up the garden and Godzilla came up out of it and saw the dead one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
And it reminded me of Godzilla versus Destroyer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, where he
I
goes
like
up to
that a lot.
Junior. He goes up to Junior and tries to revive him.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I really like that part. I thought I liked the Gremlins callbacks with the popcorn and the in the lobby there. They were all in the lobby, like from Gremlins 2. And really, probably my favorite thing about the whole movie, and Pete Quint hated this part, but I loved it. It's very King Kong at the end, like King Kong 76.
Yeah, where they're
King Kong,
they're
King
looking-
Kong 33. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
where Broderick's kind of eye to eye with him at that moment, and the
Yeah.
heartbeat. I can definitely
Yeah.
see that. Yeah,
And that ties it back to the beginning that I said that we did this. That's my favorite Broderick reaction in the whole movie,
Yeah, there was
because he's
empathy
looking
there.
at Godzilla and Godzilla's looking at him, and they both know he's dying, and you can see on Broderick's face he's thinking, we did this. This was not this creature's fault. We did all of this.
yeah,
And there was a throwaway line in the park too. The military guy said he did all this and we did nothing to him. And Broderick, he's already on that train of thought. He says, well, that's not true. We fed him.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to the end and you get to see that scene, and I don't know, it's very emotional for me, and I love it. I thought they did it really well, especially for two-dimensional cartoon characters.
That was probably one of the better moments, I think, for Broderick in the movie. Yeah, I will agree with that. As far as the scenes where he did a really good job, where he wasn't so two-dimensional. Yeah, I'll agree with that. That was probably one of the better shots that he did, or scenes.
All right, so am I doing dislikes, or
if you got any?
Did I take too long for that?
No, that's all right, man. Because I was about to say, have we? But if you got some dislikes, go for it.
Yeah, we'll do dislikes, and then we'll jump to Marcus.
I got some. My first one is at the very beginning. It says written by, and there are 4 names. That's way too many people to write a script.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
The only reason there should be any more than one person is if they're brothers and they've made a Predator movie.
Right. Yeah. Well, I do know that, and I'm not defending it at all because, yeah, there are 4 names is too much. But Emmerich and Devlin co-wrote all their movies together. They've always done that. So I knew there would be at least 2, you know what I mean? But I can't remember what the other 2 were because I honestly didn't pay enough attention.
I thought there was only 3, but maybe there was 4.
I think it was 4.
Well, I believe you.
Because it bothered me. I thought, well, that's probably that's one of the main reasons that 75 to 80%.
Okay. Mark pulled it up here. Yeah, because you got Elliot and Rocio, Ted and Terry. So they're crediting some of the stuff from their original script, which there is not much left in there, actually.
Okay, yeah. It says written Dean, Roland, Ted Elliott, and Terry Rosso.
From the Griffin script?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now.
They're giving credit. They're giving
what
them credit.
in there was left over from the Griffin script. Like there was not much.
I guess the name Godzilla.
Probably.
Wow.
Well, they should credit Honda then. So
Honda was probably like, please don't leave my name out of this. But,
well, another big problem I had was this. Though I love the music, none of it sounded like, and I'm going to slaughter his name. If
Ifukube. Yep, Akira Ifukube.
You got it.
Yeah,
there was nothing in it. Nothing that sounded like that.
No.
And I don't think you're going to get that out of at least at that time, out of an American movie. I think at the time, they just wanted to do it differently.
Yeah. I thought you already touched on this a little bit, Ruben. The size to time ratio, I think was bad. If this was a single creature that grew from 2 feet long, 3, I don't know how big they get.
Yeah, they get about 2.
Let's say
let's make it 5 foot. Let's make them a big.
Yeah,
iguana,
let's just say 5 feet long.
Yeah.
Let's say 5 feet long and 200 pounds. If that's generous. If this was a single creature that grew this large, I don't think it would be able to move.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it would crumble under its own weight. I don't think it would live. So what they should have done is had a progression of this mutation for the past 30 years.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to.
Kind of like they did in Shin Godzilla. Yeah.
No.
Like Shin. No, I know.
Nothing like they did in Shin Godzilla.
I would agree with that.
In there, sorry.
Like they did in this is nothing like they did in Shin Godzilla.
But I will give you credit though. There's a whole bunch of stuff from this movie that's in Shin Godzilla, and people like it in Shin Godzilla because Toho made it.
What?
Oh yeah. Yep.
I don't usually cuss on this show, but I'm gonna go to something that the Barbers and Coming to America said, and because all I'm gonna say is you must be yo, and I'll just leave it.
I got a list.
You have a list.
Yes,
yeah.
A list.
Yeah, I gotta know this list now.
Yeah.
All right. Creature design departure from what we're all familiar with.
Whoa. No, sir. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Shin is nothing like.
No, actually.
Shin is nothing like
what
any
Shin
previous.
what Shin is a truer depiction of the original design for Godzilla that they could not pull off special effects wise in 54.
1954.
Anno and the guys that did that movie took the designs to Tanaka's wife and had she's who signed off on them. They wouldn't finish the designs until she okayed them, and she even stated this is what he was supposed to look like. This was what his original design was. They just couldn't make him look that way.
Wait, he was supposed to look like a turkey?
No, the turkey. He looks but the red glowing, the disfigurement, even the beginning stuff. I mean, every bit of that was based off those original designs. They couldn't do that.
He was supposed to evolve like that from some goofy, childish toy.
I don't think he was supposed to evolve like 4 or 5 times. But there was supposed to be subtle differences in the beginning of the original Gojira versus the end. So like not
was
drastic.
Was he supposed to have Sith lightsabers in his back?
The laser beams? No, I do think that was Anno's all the way.
Yeah. So creature design departure. The different take on Godzilla's breath. That's in both of them.
Wait, what?
He has no breath in this one.
There's no breath at all in this one. Wait.
That's true. That's true. And that stupid scene wouldn't be in there if people hadn't complained about it.
No.
And to be fair, Godzilla's breath changed.
Oh no! Wait a minute. Time out. I'm so sorry, and I want to hear the rest of your list. I did watch that bootleg. And because I totally forgot about this.
In the middle
I did.
there, Justin.
And you made me think about it because I mean, I hate this movie so much I forgot about it. I did end up going back and watching some of that bootleg. In that bootleg, and I wish I'd have kept it. I didn't think about it because I was so mad as a kid.
I remember we talked about this. That's right. I remember
that scene with the fire was not on the bootleg. It was just the air. There was no flames whatsoever.
We talked about that, and you said you were going to go back and check on it.
Yep, I forgot about that. Yeah.
It should not have been in there.
So, anyways, go ahead. Back to your list.
Terrible idea. There's a different origin story. There's two-dimensional acting. It's long and drawn out. Both of them are long and drawn out. There's almost non-existent character arcs. Everybody's exactly the same at the end of the movie as they are at the beginning of the movie. There's presence of smaller creatures coming out of Godzilla.
With the evolution, that stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a simplistic, sometimes incoherent plot in both films. And there's all kinds of pseudoscience that makes no sense. Well, all of those things are in both of these movies. And people hate G98 for it, but they love Shin. Why?
Well, I would agree with a couple of those, but not all of those I would agree with.
Yeah.
No. But I will agree with some of those.
Yeah, but Shin is Godzilla. You cannot argue that fact.
I don't think he is.
If you got a 3-year-old and lined up anybody actually, just line up every incarnation of Godzilla, and then you said which one is not like the others, which one do you think that 5-year-old would pick? Yeah, I'm talking about all of them. I'm talking about 54. I'm talking about 64, all the way through.
I know which one my 6-year-old would pick.
which one's gonna? I say, okay, now pick one that's Shin Godzilla in its final form. All right, all of them. You line them all up in the table. All right, so you have what? Man, that's so many of them. 30 different. Let's just say that. It's just a random number because I don't have it in front of me. How many different designs of Godzilla is? And you put them all there, including Godzilla 98. What is that 5-year-old? Which one is he going to go grab?
Well, when I was watching this on the Plex, the internet was cutting in and out, and it froze on that foot. You know, it shows the Godzilla's foot in the street. In Phoenix, he's 3. He looked at the screen and he goes, "That's Godzilla." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh." And I said, "What?" He said, "I don't like this kind of Godzilla."
You talking about the 98 one?
Yeah.
See, there you go. So, he knows.
And that's what I'm saying. When you're saying
To answer your question, they would pick 98, but I'm not making the argument that 98 is Godzilla.
Well, no, but Shin, and then of course we can go down a whole road with this one.
I know.
As
We
far
could do a
as
whole
as far
show
as
on
Shin,
just
and,
that.
and we may have to have you come back for that episode, Justin.
Yeah,
because that would be
good.
great to follow up on that one. Because I do know, because you're a big fan of this one, not a fan of Shin, where it's kind of opposite. If you go to the groups or online, because there are some points you just made in that list. I will agree there's similarities between the 98 and that one as far as story things, but there's a lot I'm like, I would have to disagree on that one. But email me that list. I'm going to bring you. I want to bring you back for the 2016 one.
Well,
or for the Shin Godzilla one. 2016 is when it came out. I'm thinking.
And for me, my point of view, looking at this from start to finish, the only Godzilla in the 98 movie is in the opening scene where it says Godzilla. I mean, in my opinion, I don't go in and dissect and tear apart and do what you guys do, but that's not Godzilla. Never has, never will be. That's not him. Don't look like him. Don't act like him.
Yeah.
There's nothing about this so-called Godzilla that would compare to from 54 all the way up. That's just not Godzilla.
And after,
that's
and after for that matter.
Yeah, and to me that's you're exactly right. I mean, to me it's a lizard. It's a lizard.
Yeah. I totally agree.
And when Godzilla comes on the scene, it's for a purpose. He's, and most of the times, the majority of the movies, it's something's going on, and he's here to either save or in some cases he's come to destroy, but he's there for a reason.
Yeah.
And with this movie, this one's come to lay eggs, and that's it. And he comes all the way around the world to a arena that, according to Matthew Broderick's character, that's the reason he's here. He sought out this place, and to me, none of it made no sense as far as the history of Godzilla, where Toho came from and brought the movie from start to finish. It was not a Godzilla movie, even though Sony wanted to put the Godzilla name on it. And Justin, somebody had said it earlier. It was all about money. You put that name on there to draw people to the theater. In the trailers don't show enough. Hey, it's Godzilla. America has finally did a Godzilla movie. Everybody's got to go see it. And then the opening weekend.
And admittedly, all of our expectations were way up there.
Oh yeah,
super high,
and pumped up. Couldn't wait to go. And to me, it was a complete failure. And and I don't care, how big of a fan I am of Godzilla. If I saw a magazine, I wouldn't buy it. And I wouldn't put it on a shelf. I wouldn't. I just want everybody to know that.
Oh, man.
Sludge has it on a shelf in the nerd
worst $2 I've ever spent, I swear.
I know it. Boy, I tell you what, you're paying more than that $2.
Well, I am. And if he would, here's the thing. If he would not have drove all the way to work to say, hey, Dad, come here.
No, that is not what I came to.
I walk up to the car and he makes me come to the passenger side of the car where the magazine is. And he's got it laid strategically where it's facing me.
Not true.
Oh yeah, and it's just
true.
What is this? And then the denials start coming in, and
there were many other things I've shown you that I bought that day. Okay, that just happened to be there.
But
Mark, all you say is I do not recall. I just remember that magazine.
And he can use the old age in defense.
Well, boy, and as much as we have talked about it, you can tell what it has done to me. I mean, it is emotionally struck me hard that my son would do such a thing. But then again, I never knew until this night that he had purchased the DVD. He's never told me that. I've seen it. He has never said that to me.
It's there.
Yeah.
Never been opened.
Man, I tell you what, all kinds of dirty secrets.
It is.
I'm telling you
what. But I don't own any of it. Any of it. Yeah. You come to my house and you can inspect my house from front to end. there is not a 1998 Godzilla in my house.
Anywhere in your house.
I got some you can borrow, Mark.
And there's not a RoboCop movie in there either. Just everybody knows that too.
It's part of the problem.
Guys, you know, y'all now have a Christmas list for Mark.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. You got a Christmas
There
list
may
for
be a
Mark.
fire pit out back too.
Man.
Oh.
But anything else you want to add, Justin, onto this movie?
Yeah, a whole bunch of nitpicky stuff. You know, like who reloaded the one jet who had already shot 2 missiles?
Yeah.
Yeah, he shot 2 missiles and blew up the garden, but then he had 4 missiles at the end. Who reloaded that? You know, silly junk like that. Like, is Matthew Broderick really stronger than one of these babies?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's yes. I know.
You know, and if those torpedoes really hit the bank like that,
Yeah.
wouldn't that have destroyed half of Manhattan?
Oh, dude, it would all have been
at
gone
least
over
the
there.
coastline.
Oh,
yeah, at least
Yeah.
the coast. Well, yeah, Manhattan's pretty. You're right, Manhattan. I mean, when you look at it on a map, you don't think about it, but you're right. It would have done half of Manhattan. How wide is Manhattan?
It's
And I love when the cab was in the mouth. I thought that was really cool until he spit it out and it was perfectly in line with the bridge.
yeah, because that's their
That
luck.
was stupid. Yeah, that was dumb. But my biggest complaint, I can skip all. I got a whole list of nitpicky stuff, and I'm going to skip it all and give my biggest complaint. There's no fallout from his radiation. There's nobody getting sick. There's like in 54.
Yeah.
And that's really my biggest complaint with the entire series. Besides 54, nobody gets sick. Everybody would be deathly sick after this thing walked through town.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, in the Showa series, they kind of allude to the fact that he absorbs. Well, no, I'm sorry, in the Heisei. They
Heisei?
allude to that he absorbs radiation. That he doesn't, other than his breath is radiation.
Until 95, where his
until
his
95,
core
yeah,
starts
pretty
melting down.
much, yeah.
And then,
They
he
kind
definitely.
Yeah, and Showa, you're right. They just kind of skip over that. And
That's
And even in Heisei, anywhere he opened his mouth and shot that breath,
should be
people
it
wouldn't be
should
able to
be
live there.
fallout. Yeah, it should be radioactive fallout there.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I that is scientifically true, but we're also talking about Godzilla and Godzilla films where
I like how Legendary handled it. They just completely changed it.
Oh, with the way that their radiation is on all the Titans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
especially when you get the glimpses at the end of Kingdom Monsters and they show in the newspaper clippings of Vegas and Chernobyl, not Chernobyl, but Jajira from the 14 film where Earth's growing back and stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. I love the way they handled that.
Yeah.
So I got one question here now that he wrapped up his. Has anybody changed their mind on this movie for what Justin has just
No,
talked about?
I seriously doubt it.
not at all. I liked hearing the aspects.
It was a
though.
good try. It was a good try,
Yeah.
Justin. You gave it the old college try, so to speak.
Yeah, but I mean,
Well, I wasn't here to make converts. I was just here to share an opinion.
There you go.
I liked your take on it and what you found, the way you found to enjoy
Yeah,
this film.
because it was a perspective that us three just did not have.
Yeah, so it was really cool.
I was wondering. I'm like, when before we did this episode, I'm like, is anybody gonna walk away from this with more appreciation for it because of what Justin has to say? And
That's a different question than making converts. Does anybody appreciate it more?
Well, I like how in depth you went on it. You have really tore this thing up and dissected it and gave your honest opinion on it. And
yeah, I appreciate that.
I understand where you come from.
But
As
you're
far
not
as
going to
saying
change
how much you like
you're
it.
not going to change your rating on it. I guess that's
Yeah, I was like, so
know.
yeah. I mean, I appreciate, especially I love what Justin had to say about it. But do I appreciate this film more?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Actually, to be 100% honest with you, I probably hate it more.
As he started.
Oh, you've had it.
Like,
tried, man.
like since you
He
guys started
hates it
adding
more.
like the the things I didn't initially think about, the 35 years and he lays the eggs and, the nitpicks you guys have done. I'm like, man, this movie
I'm sorry. I brought
more.
more stuff. I added that negative.
Yeah, Rube, you did that, not me.
No, wait a minute, Justin, because then you talked about the Hudson Bay thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
there you go. Yeah.
That was Pete.
Oh, we're going to blame Pete on that one.
Good
Thanks,
job.
Pete.
Now we got Pete under the bus.
So, but
Hey, Pete, what's up? I know you're listening.
Yeah.
And I don't even need to, that to me, I mean, just what little bit I talked about, I mean, just adds really to what you guys have already said. I mean, this was, when it comes to Godzilla movies, to me was just miserable, and not a whole lot that I could say that I liked about it, other than probably the special effects.
Hank
I always tell everybody this is not a if I don't it's not a Godzilla.
You're right.
movie.
It's not Godzilla. It's not
movie.
Godzilla. And so if you want to compare it to, and say it's a Godzilla, well, I'd just say the only thing that's Godzilla is about it's on the title.
Gino, technically it is.
Godzilla,
which is why Sludge collects.
Thank you, Ruben. Even though we found out that you collect a little bit yourself.
Hey, Toho owns the character, and they have put the character in another Godzilla film. Okay,
that's right. So,
but they also changed his name.
I foresaw that. I foresaw that back in the old days. I foresaw that Toho was going to do that, so that's why I bought that stuff.
Same here.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm with Ruben.
I hear you.
That's
Guys.
what I did.
I hear you. Guys. I hear you.
I was watching.
I don't believe either one of you, but I hear you. All right.
I was watching Nostradamus, the man who saw tomorrow, and Nostradamus said in his writings, if you look, that Toho will bring Zilla into one of their movies.
All right, let's jump on these Stompdown, these ratings. So we did, we broke this into two different ratings here. We rated this as just a monster film, not Godzilla movie, and then we rated this as a Godzilla movie. And so we'll say as a monster movie, it got a higher score. As a monster movie, we gave this overall, averaged out from everybody's ratings, a 2 out of 5 stomps. As a Godzilla film, 1.25. So it the lowest on both sides that we've given any movie, actually.
Yes.
Other than you, I think you actually you gave Ship of Monsters a better rating than you gave this movie on both sides.
Oh no!
There you go.
You did.
Oh no!
Ship of Monsters got a 2.5 from you.
Pete, what have you done to me, Pete? What have you done to me?
Mark likes Ship of Monsters more than this.
There you go.
That's scary.
But Justin really was
Okay, so would you rather watch Ship of Monsters or Godzilla 98?
Gosh, Ship of Monsters any day. And I like Ship of Monsters, but even if I didn't.
You see, but I like it. So for me, it's no question. But for Mark.
Well, see,
what about you, Mark?
Man, I would have to sit down and think, but I think probably because, I tried to watch this movie again and I didn't even make it through the whole movie. I shut it off.
Go with RoboCop, Mark.
Oh, well, I'm definitely not going RoboCop. I'll go with this Godzilla movie before RoboCop.
That is terrible, sir.
I am just sorry. I'm just telling you where I'm at. That's how much I dislike that
RoboCop.
movie.
Schedule another doctor's appointment. They need to check your brain. But
awesome.
Justin was the saving factor on this one. I mean, he gave this one a 4, both sides. Ruben gave it a 2 and a 1. Mark gave it a 2 on the monster side, gave it a goose egg 0 on the Godzilla side. I was probably the one that drug it down the most. I mean, half a point, half a stomp.
Probably you did.
I did.
You trashed it.
Yeah. As a monster film, a half, and that's just to, again, Hank Azaria's character and the couple of good scenes where the CGI was really good. I mean, that we were talking, me and Justin were talking about earlier, but as a Godzilla film, it's a 0. Because we don't go negative numbers on this, so
it got a 1 for me only because it opened up the world of Godzilla. It's not
it
even
did.
part of the movie.
If anything, it did definitely open the world up to some new fans.
Yes.
So I mean, there's some thanks I guess has to be said to the film, even from my point of view on it, because it did. It opened up the Godzilla to more people. So
so much that they made a magazine.
Oh God!
So that people could buy, and you just have to buy it.
The movies that came out afterwards, like Ruben said, we wouldn't have Godzilla 2000 without this movie.
Oh yeah.
So,
Definitely.
we would have eventually had a Godzilla film, but it wouldn't have been what we got. I don't think. You know what I mean?
No.
Because they were planning on being, when Toho said enough was enough in '95, they were planning on the goal was no sooner than 10 years. I mean, they didn't want to go any sooner than 10 years, and they did it in 4 because they were like, "Oh no, we got to come back now."
Yeah.
So
We
yeah,
got to
and
do
that's
something with it.
Godzilla 2000. I like it, and
I love
that's another film. RJ loved it. He loves it because it was right there, man. Because it got released in 2000 in Japan, but it didn't make it over here till VHS. I wasn't at the theaters.
No, it was
down here.
Oh, down there.
No,
So
it was
Not,
yeah,
not
for us, it was in theaters in Tennessee. I actually skipped school
Man.
the day it came out.
Yeah, it was here. I went to see it.
See, and it didn't make it to Corpus Christi.
Oh, that stinks,
down
man.
here south, yeah. So when it came out on DVD, I went and bought it, and that was RJ's first experience with Godzilla 2000, and it's one of his favorites. And and you guys know he loves Final Wars too.
Yeah,
he loves Final Wars, and that's not high on the fan picks.
No,
I
it's
hate
okay.
Final Wars.
Yeah,
I like
I like
the last 30 minutes of that movie, which stinks
because
because
they
I
went,
mean
they were way out there. They went Matrix, and they went.
Yeah, I mean they
come
were
on,
wanting
really?
to
You don't need
recapture
all
the
that.
magic of Destroy All Monsters, and it epically failed. Definitely.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but
It's terrible.
for me,
but he loves it. He loves it, and because it was. I'm telling you, man, there's a prime age there that
right,
really,
and that really was, and that really, I mean, for his age, that was his Destroy All Monsters. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So,
yeah, Rube. Speaking of age,
Yeah.
guess how old I am?
oh, let me see. I'm gonna guess. I don't know. I'd have to look at you on the camera again. I'm gonna guess upper 30s. Oh, okay.
Pretty
There
good.
you go. I would say 38, maybe 39.
It's pretty close.
Wow.
Is it?
I'll take it. See you.
All right. That would be my guess. Because I know me and Mark are up. We got seniority.
Yeah.
We got that seniority. We get to pick first on vacations and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah. And then I was kind of surprised how old August seems to be closer to me and Mark's age than he is.
yes, yeah,
Yeah. You see, I imagined him younger. And then when he started
did too.
talking, and he looks younger. And then when I saw his picture, he looks younger. But when he was talking about how he got his start and everything, I said,
Oh,
"This
yeah.
dude's closer to my age than he is to Sludge's age."
yeah, definitely.
And I'm like, and then I saw, I looked at more pictures of him, and I said, you know what, he's maybe upper 40s, 50s. He might be in his 50s actually, because he said,
Yeah,
saw
I
Megalon.
thought he was up in his 50s.
I would say he's in his
Okay.
50s,
Yeah.
just judging from the timeline. I don't know, and I wasn't going to ask him, but
That's true.
That was great,
yeah.
man.
So
Well,
it was cool. I mean,
awesome.
That
Well,
was so cool. I mean, I told that story to my nephew and RJ, and they listened to RJ listened to the episode.
Oh,
and
I did
said,
too.
Man,
I told y'all I'd go back. and listen to it.
his origin story is just the best.
It is.
How he got started, I'm like, oh my god, how, I was green with envy when I was like, man,
Dude, I love that episode. And you plop Godzilla 98 episode right after it.
Yeah, let's go. The best episode ever, and then the worst movie of all time. No, not the, I mean, it's not the worst movie of all time. Godzilla '98 is at least not that. So, but I mean, I'm glad you came on to this one because I feel like if you weren't here, this would have been very one directional and a very short episode.
Well,
yes.
You know what I mean?
Then it would have been up to, usually when we have episodes like that, I try to be the devil's advocate and try to. I didn't have to do that much in this episode.
Because there are fans out there that do like this movie, and they have a right to like this movie. I mean, no matter how much we hate it or not, I mean, we were given the film. It may not have been the film most of us wanted, but we were still given the film,
Right.
and it's there. I mean, has been in an actual Toho Godzilla film. We've got the series. He's been in comic books. I mean, so whether we like it or not, and Mark can disagree on this one, he is part of the lore. He is part of the fandom. Kind of like Uncle Eddie from Christmas Vacation.
There you go.
The family member you don't always want to talk about. But
I'd rather hang out with Uncle.
no, yeah, I'm with you there.
I'd rather hang out with
That's a
cousin
bad
Eddie
example.
than-
Maybe cousin Ed
Eddie
from
than
Addams
Godzilla
Family or something.
98,
But no, I mean, we made it through it. We got to it. I'm glad, Justin, that you were here on it. I would love you to come back for the Shin Godzilla episode, because your list brought up some great points I would like to retrospect on when we get to that, which is really, really cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Again, this was a blast to get through this one. We've been hyping it up and talking about it. So, let us know what you guys feel about it. And then, of course, we've got one more episode for you guys this month. It is Christmas time, and we just couldn't end the month out on this film by any means. So we wanted to give you something Christmassy. And so, of course, we'll be here next week. We are doing Krampus, which is one of my favorite Christmas films. I love that movie. My wife hates that movie, but I'm a huge fan of Michael Dougherty's Krampus. So we'll round out the year with that one for a good fun note. And then, of course, we're going to kickstart the beginning of the year with Godzilla 2000, getting back into the Toho films. Super excited about that. And then we have a request by none other than Justin McClain. We're going to hit kind of a very unique giant monster film, fairly new, came out in 2016 with Anne Hathaway, Colossal, which will be cool because I've not seen the whole film, and I don't think either of you guys have seen it, right?
I have not. We have not seen it. Yeah.
Justin, you like the film a lot, right?
Oh, I love it. It's one of my favorite kaiju movies.
So I'm excited to see it. It'll be something fresh for all of us, which is really cool, because I don't know that we've actually had that, have we? Where the three of us have not seen the movie.
No,
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, what'd Pete give us to?
Shipping Monsters.
Shipping
Well, okay,
Monsters.
no,
Yeah,
none of us have
Shipping
seen that one. So,
Yeah.
so this will be the second one, but this will be
Okay.
the first giant monster film that we haven't seen all together. So.
Hopefully it'll be a good one.
It
There
looks
we go.
great, and what
It
little bit
does.
I've seen does look awesome. So super excited about that one. So again,
But don't take my word for it, because I like Godzilla.
that's
98.
true. Okay,
That's right.
I'm
already-
That's a
You've already
big-
put it out there.
yeah. So now I'm going to take this one maybe with a grain of salt. He
Yeah,
likes
we-
98. He hates Shin Godzilla. We'll
Yeah.
see. So
You
no, this one
know,
actually looks fun.
You had me at Anne Hathaway, so I'm all right.
That's a Ruben
Yes,
sold.
sir.
So-
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But again, guys, thank you all so much. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Join us back again next week for our special Christmas episode with Krampus, and then we'll see you at the beginning of the year with Godzilla 2000 and Miss Anne Hathaway and Colossal. So
There you go.
And again, Justin, thank you so much for joining on this episode. We appreciate it. This is Sludge.
And Mark.
Ruben.
And Judd. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right.
Love you guys.
Dude, thanks so much. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks.
Get to the chopper and leave. As the flesh wound, I am the father.
So as a
Absolutely.
monster film rating, not a Godzilla rating, I'm getting a half a stomp, 0.5. As a Godzilla film, goose egg all the way.
Wow.
So you're 0.5, and man, you are rough.
Dude, I hate this movie. Like, y'all give me a hard time about the figures, but you don't understand.
And yet, you talking this, and you do go out and buy the figures
I-
and get
no,
the
no, no.
magazines.
No, I don't buy the
Uh-oh.
figures.
I think
I did buy the magazine, and I have admitted to that.
Yeah.
It was $2. It was worth it. It was in perfect shape.
how can it
That's
be
quicker.
worth it if you're a 0.5 and a goose egg?
Because it's still a Godzilla history. I'm not gonna lie. I when I watched it the other day, I had to watch it. Well, I fell asleep twice in the movie, so I had to go back and start it again, and then
That's
go back.
wrong, man. You didn't even fall asleep for Titanic, man. That tells you how bad this
No, I
movie
didn't.
is.
But I did stop Titanic a few times. 'Cause